What's up, everybody? Good morning and a very happy Monday to all of you. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you are tuning in, whether it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Streaming us up online at sportstalk1051.com. You can tell your Alexa devices, Google devices, say, yo, Alexa, play WAYY. Got the video stream also up and rolling on YouTube this morning. Also, got the app, the Wisco Sports App. Download that, take it on the go. But hopefully you all had a absolutely fantastic weekend, and you're ready to hit up a brand new work week here. What do we have on our game plan this morning? Let's go back to Friday. Badger basketball with another fantastic W, another huge win, taking down Michigan State 92-71. Badgers, only team with 3 top 10 wins this season after taking down Michigan State on Friday, Illinois earlier in the week, and of course earlier in the season, handing Michigan their first loss of the season. Assuming, I know we shouldn't always assume, but assuming Wisconsin takes care of their business for the rest of this regular season in their final 6 games, and they don't just completely fall off a cliff, I would imagine that's going to at least secure their spot in the NCAA tournament. Now, we got 6 more games left to go. They're back at it tomorrow, taking on Ohio State. Don't overlook Ohio State. Don't overlook Iowa coming up this weekend. Little quick trip to the West Coast the following weekend against Oregon, Washington. Definitely need to win those. Those are winnable games. Definitely favorites in those. Maryland as well. And then they'll wrap up the regular season on March 7th against Purdue on the road. But what an absolutely fantastic week for the Wisconsin Badger men's basketball team. I know Joel and Artie's bracketology is going to come out today. I was looking up CBS Sports bracketology. They had Wisconsin moving up to just one more spot as a 7 seed in the tournament. So I think there's still more room for them, obviously, to move up and such. Plenty of time, especially when we get into, the conference tournament and such. But, yeah, what an absolutely fantastic week for Wisconsin. I don't know if that'll put them up into the top 25. Find out later on today. But, man, this team maybe clicking on the right cylinders or clicking on all their cylinders at the right moments towards the end of the regular season, maybe starting to get a little momentum, stacking success, building upon that. And hopefully they can continue to do that into the tournament when we get to that point and such. But Nick Boyd, man, I still think one of the most overlooked, underappreciated players in all of college basketball this year. Doing his thing on Friday nights. 29 points, 10 of 17 from the field, 5 of 7 from 3. Blackwell, 24 points. Nolan Winter, another double-double for him. 10 points, 11 rebounds. Just an absolutely fantastic performance from the Wisconsin Badgers. So we'll talk some college hoops, talk about this team going forward. Do you think they're clicking on all cylinders at the right moment, at the right time, the perfect time? I still feel like this is a team, if they get one of those lower seeds, whether it is a 7 seed or whatever the case may be, no team's going to want to face them. None of those higher seeds. If they win their opening round and it goes chalk and they got to face a 2 seed. I know CBS Sports had them going up against Iowa State potentially. I don't think if you're a 2 seed, you want to face Wisconsin, or if somehow they drop to an 8 or 9 and they potentially have to play the 1 seed in the second round. I don't think any of those high seeds want to face the Wisconsin Badgers in an NCAA tournament game. Just my opinion. But that's kind of where I'm at. So, but just 6 more games left to go in the regular season, baby. We're getting close to tournament time. So, what else do we have on the docket here? Speaking of college, got to give a couple shout-outs here. UW Eau Claire, Blue Gold wrestling team. Big-time shout-out to the Blue Gold wrestling team this past weekend, becoming WIAC champions. They win their first outright WIAC championship in program history. So big-time congrats to the program and Coach Fader and everybody over there. What a awesome rise of this program since Coach Fader has come aboard and such over the years. So fantastic, nice work. UW Stouts, men's hockey WIAC champions, regular season champs. They took down UW Eau Claire this past weekend. So had a couple of regular season champs crowned in the WIAC. So. What else do we have on the docket here this morning? The Brewers, got to give a tip of the cap to Brandon Burke. He did mention this as a possibility on Friday. And, of course, what happens? The Brewers reportedly make the move. Luis Rengifo, third baseman, kind of more of a utility guy, but spent his whole career with the Angels, going back from 2019 up until last year. But the Brewers adding him maybe to add some more depth, probably, I would imagine, maybe being that opening day starter at third base. He is a switch hitter. He does have experience playing third, short, second base. So maybe kind of one of those scenarios that he begins the season as that everyday third baseman. But once the Brewers maybe bring up a youngster, or kind of maybe like a Caleb Durbin situation last year where they bring up one of their youngsters and they overtake that spot, and Luis becomes kind of the utility guy in that position. Lots to kind of figure out there, but you look at over the years, last year he hit 9 home runs, the year before 6, but in 2023 he hit 16. 2022 he hit 17 home runs. 2024, he was a 300 hitter, but just in 78 games. If we look at those 2022, 2023 seasons where he played 147 games last year, but in those, it's easy to say his two better seasons. 2022, 17 home runs, 52 RBIs. He hit 264 with a 724 OPS. 2023, 16 dingers, 51 home runs, 264 batting average, and a 783 OPS. 2024, he did steal 24 bases last year, just 10. But he is a career 6.7 WAR, wins above replacement. So, he's honestly, I'm glad they're bringing in another veteran. Is it somebody that's going to move the needle as like a big time power bat and such? No, it's not. But glad that they added just a little bit more veteran depth to that position instead of maybe going into the season and right away relying upon maybe some youngsters to. And I think what this also does, it doesn't force the Brewers to have to keep Jet Williams on the opening day roster. They still very well could. And they could, depending on how spring training goes and such, Jet Williams could be the opening day starting third baseman. But I think what a move like this gives the Brewers is a little bit of flexibility in terms of, okay, we can maybe be a little patient. Again, kind of like Caleb Durbin last year. Be a little patient with it. And then, obviously it wasn't working out with Vinny Capra and Oliver Dunn at third base. So in comes Caleb Durbin. So, but yeah, I like it from a depth standpoint, and it doesn't force the team to maybe make a move or a decision at third base that they're not 100% comfortable in. So, and it's a guy that's been doing it for a few years. And it's essentially, again, he's not just straight up a third baseman. He's a utility guy. He can give you, reps at other positions within the infield, providing that versatility for this team that we know that the Brewers really like. Speaking of the Brewers, we've got our first spring training game coming up on Saturday and such, so baseball is nearly upon us. Who do you think, all right, as we get set for this season, right now, all right, at this point in time, February 16th, if you had to look at it, you're looking at this roster. Who do you think is the Brewers X-Factor? The X factor for this team to get back to the postseason or to win the division again. Who is the biggest? Got to pick one. All right, I'm going to ask you to pick one. I know it might be hard, but if you had to pick one, who is the biggest X factor for this team to get back to the postseason? All right, think about that for a little bit, and you can send me your thoughts. Got that Shoe Doctors bullpen line up and rolling, 715-830-1912, or you can hit us up on the YouTube chat over there too. So we'll talk plenty of Brewers. Also on the dockets, we're going to talk a little, we'll throw a little football talk in here too, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who's been kind of seeing some of the offseason predictions and such that have been kind of floating out there. And I know, Fox Sports had one where they had couple of free agency moves, two moves, as they said, two moves for the Green Bay to improve their playoff roster. And I know this was at the back end of last week. One was to sign defensive tackle Calais Campbell, a longtime veteran defensive tackle. Jonathan Gannon, familiar with him, spending time with him last year in Arizona. But they also put in there re-sign Quay Walker. And this is where I kind of want to throw the question back to you, Packers fans, okay? They put on here that he'll likely get about $10 million a year. If it costs, let's just keep it simple, okay? You all know, we've talked about this before, salary caps, it ain't as simple as what they make per year, right? Salary cap hits, guaranteed money, all that sort of stuff. We'll probably revisit all that when we get a little bit closer to free agency next month, just as a refresher. But if it's straight up, just making it simple, it costs $10 million to bring back Quay Walker. $10 million per year. Would you do it? Yay or nay? It's as simple as that. Yay or nay? All right. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Or do you think the team should move on? Maybe draft another linebacker? Maybe you're like, you know what? Quay Walker just hasn't hit that level yet. Hasn't been consistent. Hasn't, been all-world, all-pro type of player. Let's see what we got in Hopper. Got Isaiah McDuffie for another year. Obviously, Edrin Cooper. Let's save some cash, draft another inside linebacker, and let's just move on from the Quay Walker experiment. Or are you on the other side saying, yes, please, let's keep him for another $10 million and have that athleticism, speed, pairing up with Edrin Cooper again? Because when Quay Walker plays well, he plays really well. So think about that for a little bit. We'll touch on that throughout the morning here. Also, Giannis. It was the All-Star festivities weekend over the weekend. If you did tune in, you can let us know what you thought of the new format with stars and stripes and Team World and such. But Giannis chatted a little bit too. Giannis forefront of a lot of stuff didn't play, but he did got to talk about his future and his commitment to the Bucks. So we'll play a little bit of that and get your thoughts, Bucks fans, on that. It is also Monday, which means it's I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. You know the drill. Fill in the blank. Best ones I'll read up on the air. I'm not saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. I'm not saying the NBA All-Star game or weekend was great, but I'm just saying it's not the worst. That's just an example. I'm not saying that's mine. So, also, it is best and worst from the weekend, brought to you by our good friends, the VFW Post 305. So, what was the best? What was the worst from the weekend? We'll catch up with our buddy, Justus Cleveland, sports director, WEAU 13 News, coming up in the 9 o'clock hour for a little local sports roundup, brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. So, as you can tell, loaded up game plan for us this morning. Let's pitter-patter. Let's get at her, shall we? We'll take our first break, and then we'll get the leadoff going here this morning, all right? I want to hear from you. Hit me up with those texts and those comments on the video stream, all that good stuff. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Not sure what to do with that tax return this year? Make it easy. Make it simple on yourself, all right? Update the floors in your home, man. All right, whether it's for the man cave or maybe it's for the kitchen, the living room, bedroom, whatever space that needs that updating, because you probably got one. Look no further than our good friends at Carpet City Flooring Center to help you out. From soft, comfortable carpet to durable, luxury vinyl planks and tile, Carpet City Flooring Center has the flooring options designed for real homes and real life. Whether you are updating a single room, maybe finishing up that basement for a little man cave space, or remodeling your entire home, their experienced team helps you find the right flooring to match your style, your needs, and your budget. You'll get knowledgeable guidance, quality products, and professional installation all in one place. No confusing choices, no high-pressure sales, just honest advice and flooring that you'll feel good about for years to come. So check them out today, all right? Stop on in today at 3109 East Hamilton Avenue in Eau Claire, and you can see the difference for yourself. All right, let's talk a little college hoops to open it up, shall we? Give some more love to this Wisconsin Badger basketball team. What a dominating win. What an impressive win on their home court against Michigan State on Friday. How do you not get pumped up about that? 92-71. Led by the big three again from Wisconsin. Nick Boyd, John Blackwell, and Nolan Winter. Nolan Winter getting his double-double, 10 points, but crashing the boards with 11 rebounds. Nick Boyd, 29 points, a cool 10 of 17 from the field overall, 5 of 7 from three, and then Blackwell contributing 24 points as well. Carrington coming off the bench to lead bench scorers with 9 points. Austin Rapp also contributing 7 points off the bench. But a fantastic week. Easy pick for if you want to throw the Badgers in there for the VFW Post 305 best and worst of the weekend. Easy pick for best of the weekend. I mean, we were hoping, I was hoping, just get us one. You know, if you can get one win against Illinois or one win against Michigan State, go 1-1 in those two games this last week, been like, okay, cool. But to get two against two top 10 teams, hey now, heck yeah. We'll take that any day of the week and twice on Sunday, baby. But is this Badger basketball team right now playing their best basketball at the right moment, at the right time? And, you know, I know that it wasn't that long ago, too. Maybe catch the breath a little bit here, that they did fall to Indiana. All right, 78-77. So that is a little bit of a sore spot right there. No question about it. But how does Wisconsin, I think the big question for me right now for this Wisconsin Badger basketball team is going to be, how do they use these two wins and build upon them, continue to build upon them, stack that success, not get complacent, not have that, ego, big head, whatever you want to call it, to not have any of that fester into the minds of these players or to this program or to this team. I trust Greg Gard, obviously, to send that message and to relay that message, but we're all human, and these are younger, college kids and such. We've all kind of been at the college level, right? We know how our mind works. Once in a while, it's hard not to read headlines, especially in the year of 2026, and it's plastered all over. It's hard. It's hard. But how does this team stack that success, use the success that they had from this past weekend, and build upon that and continue to get better, continue to kind of ride that momentum? That, to me, is going to be something that I'm curious to kind of see it play out, because the one thing you don't want to see after having a successful week like the Badgers had is you don't want to then come back and lose to teams like an Oregon coming up here next week, or Washington. You can't have those bad losses where it kind of washes out or it negates some of those big time wins. But let's talk about Greg Gard here for a second too. I'm going to throw this number out at you. Greg Gard. If we look at it from Badger basketball history, Greg Gard now has 18 top 10 wins during his tenure as the Badger men's basketball head coach. He is now already tied Bo Ryan for the most in program history. Bo Ryan was 18 and 33 against top 10 teams. That's a 353 win percentage. Greg Gard is 18 and 26, a 395 win percentage. And I know we kind of touched a little bit on it last week. But wasn't that long ago. Greg Gard, for some Badgers fans, on the hot seat, wanted him out. Maybe bring back Tony Bennett. Maybe they should have gotten Shaka Smart, Madison native. There was other names being floated out there. Not a lot of love. Remember, wasn't that long ago? There was, I think, a dorm in Madison that had like the painted sign or a sign saying "Fire Gard" or something like that. You know, not a lot of love. I'd be curious to hear from people that maybe were on that side of the aisle that didn't want Greg Gard or wanted Greg Gard gone. How do you feel about him now? And yes, I will throw out there. We or the Badger men's basketball team, once it comes tournament time, no doubt we got to see some wins now in the tournament, right? We got to see more wins in the tournament. We want to see some deeper runs in the tournament. I'm not going to argue that because it's been a hot minute since we've seen, you know, the team not just win one game in the NCAA tournament, but, you know, getting back to the Sweet 16, getting to an Elite Eight. Obviously, we would love to see, you know, the Badgers get back to a Final Four and all that stuff, right? We'd love to see that. Love to see that. But if that's one of the knocks that you want to throw to Greg Gard is got to have more wins when it comes to the NCAA tournament, numbers don't lie. It is hard to argue that. The counter that I maybe would throw out there is I think the tournament is so, you know, it's hard to predict because it's so heavy on matchups. Like last year, that second round, that was all when that Selection Sunday went across and we saw Wisconsin potentially would have to play BYU in the second round. I think everybody and their grandmother knew, like, oh boy, that's a bad matchup for Wisconsin. Wisconsin was ranked higher. They had the higher seed, but anybody who follows college basketball has been following, you know, BYU and such, knew that was going to be a really, really bad matchup, and it was a really, really bad matchup. So that's the one thing when it comes to tournament time is like, it's so matchup based. But yeah, you look at the numbers, we probably want to see more success when it comes to making the tournament. But the ever-changing landscape of college sports, not just college basketball, but college sports in general, with how he has adjusted, with how he has changed the philosophy, gone out on his own in a lot of instances for NIL money and fundraising and such, and kind of utilizing recruiting from an overseas standpoint, hitting it in the transfer portal. That really has been, I think, one of the most impressive things from Greg Gard. You look at what he did with John Tonje, bringing him in for 1 year. That worked really well. And this year right now, the Nick Boyd signing, boom. Heck, if you even want to throw A.J. Storr in from a couple years ago, A.J. Storr has played for everybody, I think, at this point. But did get that one right, too, for 1 year. I mean, the guy, Greg Gard's been pretty darn impressive. Pretty impressive, given, I think, a lot of obstacles in the way in college sports. And Tom Izzo kind of said it after the game, too, that Greg Gard doesn't get enough credit and that the Badgers need to appreciate him. They need to appreciate him a little bit more. Here, this is from Tom Izzo after the game on Friday night, talking about Greg Gard and such. If it's going to.
Here, I don't think he gets enough credit. He lost a couple tough games early, and but he's been as consistent and steady as anybody. I came here to speak last year to this cancer deal, and I was so impressed by the people and everything, and he appreciate him. Sometimes I and the league get more credit. Sometimes Payne does. I don't think Greg gets enough credit for what he's done. So my word to you guys that are Badgers, appreciate him. He's adjusted a little bit. He's tried some different things, and he did a hell of a job tonight. I mean, they outplayed us in every aspect of the game.
There you go. That was from Tom Izzo after Wisconsin just dominated his team on Friday night. And I completely agree. Completely agree. So, all right, let's take a quick break. Plenty more. Give me your thoughts, all right, on Greg Gard, this Badger basketball team. Are they hitting their stride at the right time? At the right time. Really quick, Ken Palm, up to number 30 in Ken Palm's rankings and number 32 in ESPN's Basketball Power Index. So nearing that top 25 in the AP poll. You know for sure they're going to be getting some votes if they don't crack into it. So, all right, we'll take a quick break, but we got plenty more to get to coming up in just a couple minutes. Hey, if one of your hobbies is working on your vehicle, maybe you got a hobby vehicle or such, and you're just not quite sure where do you get the parts, or you're looking for somewhere to get those high-quality used auto parts, look no further than ASAP Used Auto Parts and Conrad's Auto Salvage. They've got what you need at the prices that make sense. So check them out today. E9889 Albany D in Mondovi. All right. Or you can check them out online as well at conradsautosalvage.com. ASAP Used Auto Parts and Conrad's Auto Salvage. From salvage to service, one name you can trust. I know we've got some chitter chat about some winter weather, even though it was really, really, really gorgeous this past weekend, and hopefully you're able to maybe do a little something outside or open up the windows in the house and such. But they are talking about maybe some winter weather coming up here soon. So even though you're probably thinking spring, like me, and thinking about, all right, let's get outside and, start doing some stuff. It is Wisconsin, so with that winter weather potentially coming here, don't forget to stay tuned to our website, sportstalk1051.com, for the WEAU 13 News First Alert School Closings that are brought to you by Hovland's and ServiceMaster. All right, so even though you're probably not even thinking about that, if we do get some more winter weather, which we have before, even later on in the calendar year, and it could still be here right in a sec, right? So stay tuned to our website later on this week for those potential school closings and delays. And again, big thanks to Hovland's and ServiceMaster of Chippewa Valley. Let's do a quick look at the medal counts going on right now with the Winter Olympics. Norway having a good start, having a good run so far. They're the overall leaders in total medals and gold medals. 26 total medals, 12 gold. USA right now, they're third, 17 total medals, which matches Japan. But the U.S. has 5 golds. Breakdown from U.S. is 5 golds, 8 silver, 4 bronze. So shout out again to Wisconsin native Jordan Stolz, setting another Olympic record and another gold within the 500 meter for speed skating. So shout out to the Wisconsin native, who is off to a fantastic, or just doing an awesomely fantastic job so far in the Winter Olympics. So I know hockey, is getting, it has been underway and such. So maybe it's getting some more eyes and attention and fans a part of the Olympics and such. So now that we're getting closer to that, it's probably getting a little bit more intrigue in that too. So, but coming up, don't forget to continue to send me your I'm not sayings, but I'm just sayings, best ones. I'll read on the air. Also, your best and worst from the weekend, brought to you by our good friends from the VFW Post 305. Hey, speaking of the VFW Post 305, and since we were just talking about college basketball, don't forget, coming up Friday, March 20th, for our Hoops Skip Day, we're going to be doing the program from the VFW Post 305 located on Star Avenue. And then we're going to hang out. We're going to watch some basketball. We've got some prizes to give away and such, and more details to come, including some drinks and such, maybe some free beer out there too. So, but if you're looking for a spot to watch basketball day, I know a lot of you taking that day off, right? You take the day off on Friday to watch a little hoops action. Hang out with us. We're going to be posted up at the VFW Post 305 on Star Avenue for much of the day there, watching some basketball. So, all right, got to play a little catch up here. So I do got to take another quick break here as we start to round up the first hour here this morning. So continue to send me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, and your best and worst from the weekend. We're going to talk some baseball coming up in the next hour as we are getting set for spring training. The first game for the Brewers coming up this Saturday. Brewers bringing in a new third baseman. Shout out to our good friend Brandon Berg, who mentioned this as a possibility on Friday, and he just manifested it to fruition. Luis Rengifo coming over. longtime Los Angeles Angels, third baseman, second baseman, shortstop. He's all over the place. But it kind of looks like he's, I would say, the leader to be that everyday starting third baseman for the Brewers. But we'll talk a little bit about that. And who do you think is the X-Factor for the Brewers this year to get back to the postseason? Make your picks. All right, make your picks. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to wrap up the first hour, the first quarter. Flying on through here this morning, all right? We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. When it comes to great meat, go where the locals go. That's Mike's Star Market right here in Eau Claire. From hand-cut steaks and fresh ground beef to quality roasts and specialty cuts, this is a true neighborhood meat shop and butcher that you can trust. Friendly service, expert cuts, and meat done right every single time. Hey, stop by Mike's Star Market today at 2238 Heimstead Road in Eau Claire, and you could taste the difference that a real butcher makes. Mike's Star Market. Quality you could see, flavor that you could trust. Speaking of quality, let's head to the Shoe Doctor's bullpen line here this morning with a quick phone call from our guy, Mr. Seabaum. Happy Monday, Seabaum. How are you doing, sir?
Good Good morning, El Capitano. I'm doing well this Monday morning with this beautiful weather. How about yourself?
I'm not doing too bad. Did you take out the motorcycle at all this weekend and enjoy the warm weather? I saw a few of them out there on the roads. Were you one of them?
I wanted to be, but I have mine being stored at Chippewa Falls Harley-Davidson, and they're doing some work on it. So, unfortunately, I didn't get it out. But maybe by this weekend, I might have to go pick it up.
Yeah, nice. All right. Well, hey, what's on your mind here this morning, boss?
Well, I figured I'd call in with a little bit of my best and worst, and just to highlight, I'll start with the best, obviously. Just to bring a little limelight to a sport that sits as kind of the third fiddle of the big ones, I'm going to talk a little hockey.
Yeah.
I think now that the preliminary rounds are done, hockey, I think, will get a little more excitement. But I'll tell you what, for the first time ever, I found myself fired up for Team Canada when Tom Wilson dropped the mitts and beat the tar out of that guy who cheap shot, took a late hit forearm check. When do you see a fight in the Olympics? I loved it. I was like, yeah, I can't even say the words that I was thinking. That was awesome.
We might have to make you our hockey analyst or something going forward. Yeah, you're the hockey contributor of the program or something, dude.
Yeah, well, there we go. I'll tell you what, I do follow the NHL a little bit, nothing like MLB or the NFL, obviously, but yeah, hockey. If you haven't been, you got to. And TV's it's great to watch on TV, but get yourself to a game and you'll be hooked.
Yeah, like you know me, I'm not the biggest hockey one, but I went to a Wild game a couple of years ago, and honestly, it's everybody says it, but it is so much better in person, dude. Watching hockey, and I got lucky. I got to see the mitts drop right away too in a fight, so I got all of it right away. But I was hooked right there.
Oh, it is a blast. I love it. And Team USA, they're making light work of everyone they played through the qualifying, and now they're the number 2 seed right behind Canada. So it's setting up. We could have another, similar to the Four Nations last summer. And boy, would it be nice to see the mitts drop in a championship game for the gold medal. That would be amazing. But yeah, winners of are hockey fans of the Olympics this weekend, in my opinion.
All right.
And I'll go now. If you want my worst of the weekend, here we go. And it's in the same sport, but it could go for all youth sports. Is coaches and parents of these youth teams who think they are coaching an NHL team and getting on the officials. I have had it. I'm watching these, 13, 14-year-old kids out there learning how to ref hockey games, and you got parents in the stands screaming out and then coaches screaming at officials. Luckily, this didn't happen in our game. I was watching another game in the rink, and I was losing my mind. I wanted to go over to those parents and start playing basketball with some of their domes. I mean, you guys, these are kids.
Yep.
I don't know if you see this, El Capitano, but you see it in baseball and all the time, and you see it in hockey, and it's like it takes away so much. And what are you teaching these kids that are playing? Then you get them griping on the bench about the officials and griping about this. Enough with getting on officials. They're kids playing a game. None of these kids are going into the NHL, okay? Parents, get it through your heads.
Yeah, dude.
That's my worst of the weekend, and it's almost like a grind my gears Tuesday. Apologies.
No, dude. Hey, man, you hit a nerve with me right now talking about youth sports coaches and such. I dealt with the same thing this past week and such. It's ridiculous seeing some of these youth sports coaches. I mean, they do not belong coaching kids. They just, I got to catch what I'm going to say here too, but they just do not belong helping mold these kids and their sports careers or whatever you want. Dealt with it this past weekend at basketball too. It was awful. It was awful. And you just wonder what goes on through the mind, right, C-Bomb? You just wonder what goes on through their minds and what they're thinking and how they approach helping what they're supposed to be doing and helping these younger kids and such.
Yeah, it truly drives me nuts. And I'll tell you what, when I'm coaching, for those that know Dr. Adam Atkins, I'm coaching with him this year. I get fired up, man. I get into it, but I will not jump down the throat of officials or referees. I mean, they're out there for the most part. If they're adults, you might question them or have a disagreement. But what good is it going to do getting on them and screaming and complaining? And what are you teaching these kids?
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand, these kids you're molding their minds. They're developing, right? If they if they see their coaches acting a fool, they think they can do the same thing. And if you're out there doing that as a coach, you need to stop coaching.
Dude, co-sign it 100%, man. I don't know how we could change it in youth sports with coaching, but it's bad, dude. It's getting bad. And I used to be a sports director at a YMCA, so I had to see the other side of it too. And it's the same being a parent and now also being a youth sports coach too. So it's bad across the board, man. I don't know how you fix it. I really don't know how you fix it at this point, instead of maybe calling out the bad coaches all the time.
Yeah, and you need a strong board for all the different, the problem is it's so big. Youth sports is so huge. It's actually an industry, right? I mean, and really it's about getting the right people in there, teaching these kids, and having coaches. It's one thing to be competitive. Yeah, you're going to argue with an official once in a while, but to just be getting on them the whole game, it's just so. And then, again, go back. A lot of these kids, you go to these youths, it's kids learning how to referee, learning how to umpire, and they're intimidated, man. You're going to scare away the next group of officials, So it needs to be more of a community. Yeah, it's good to be competitive. It's good to have the juices flowing, but for berating officials, kids at that are out there trying to learn, it gets my blood boiling, and I hate to see it for them. And it's not good for the kids that you're coaching either, because again, they're learning from you.
Right, exactly. You are the role model in this thing, right? I mean, especially at the younger ages, you're kind of helping develop whether they're going to play sports in the future and such, right? I mean, I've had good youth coaches, I've had bad youth coaches, and I still probably still affected by it to this day as an adult and now a dad to a youth sports player.
Yep. Yeah, I tell you, that's so that was my worst of the weekend, seeing that, and I unfortunately kind of see it too often, and until people bring it to light, and you put a platform out here and you've talked about it in the past. I actually thought of you this weekend when I saw it. It's like, this is the crap Kasper talks about right here.
Yeah. Well, really quick, because I know I'm gonna get cut off. You know what else I saw, dude? They make 9U player watch list now. 9U for baseball player watch list, dude. 9 and under.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Oh my God.
Half of the 9-year-olds that are studs today won't even be playing in high school.
Right. Right.
It blows my mind.
Yeah. Good time. See, Bob, you and I could probably talk about this for 4 straight hours, dude. So, but I appreciate the phone call this morning, bud.
Well, we'll have to crack some man caves and jump on a pod one of these days and discuss it. You have a great day. Thanks for taking my call, El Capitano.
You got it. There you go. C-Bomb hopping off here this morning. Good stuff from our good buddy C-Bomb this morning. Yeah. That gets my blood boiling too, man. All right, let's kind of reset here because we only have a couple minutes left at the top of the hour. So to kick off next hour, we'll talk some baseball. Brewers maybe getting their everyday starting third baseman, at least to begin the season. We'll tell you about Luis Rengifo, what he brings to the table for the Brewers. And since we are getting set for our first spring training game of the season coming up on Saturday, kind of continuing our countdown to the regular season and such, who do you think is the biggest X factor? You got to pick one. Who do you think is the biggest X factor for the Milwaukee Brewers to get back to the postseason? All right, make your picks. Hit us up with those texts, 715-830-1912. All right, on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. Or you can also hit us up on the YouTube chats as well. So we'll talk some Brewers coming up next hour. Also, forgot to ask this to C-Bomb since he's one of our biggest Packers guys. It's getting close. I mean, we're getting to franchise tag season and such in the NFL, and you got some outlets out there making predictions and what teams should do. One of them out there was from Fox Sports saying, Packers should bring back Quay Walker for about $10 million per year. If we just keep it without going at salary cap hits or anything like that, would you be good? Do you want Green Bay to bring back Quay Walker for, again, let's make it simple, $10 million? Or do you want to go the opposite way and say, you know what, let's see what we have with Tyron Hopper. Let's maybe get a linebacker in the draft. We still got Isaiah McDuffie. It's the Quay Walker experience We need to move on from it. Which side are you on? All right. Let me know. Make your picks. Okay. There's a shot clock. 1 in. First quarter's in the books. Second quarter coming up after these news updates. All right, second quarter, kicking off right now. We are flying through on this Monday morning. Looking for your best and worst from the weekend. You can make your picks by hitting us up with a quick message on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line or hang out on the YouTube chats. So send yours on over. While you're there, you can let us know what is your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. You can fill in the blanks. It's our normal Monday routine here. Coming up 2 hours from now in the 9 o'clock hour, we'll catch up with our buddy Justus Cleveland, WEAU 13 News Sports Director, for a little local sports roundup brought to you by our good friends from Carpet City Flooring Center. A lot of WIAC action to catch up on with Blue Gold Wrestling. Shout out Blue Gold Wrestling, first time in program history. Outright WIAC champs, UW Stout men's hockey capturing the conference championship as well. We got more brackets on the prep side. For some prep sports, playoff hockey on the prep sports. So, yeah, lots to catch up on for our local sports roundup. Again, brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. So we'll do that in the 9 o'clock hour. We talked Badger basketball in the first quarter, in the first hour. Lots of good stuff there from Badger basketball. A few of you chiming in saying that is easily your best from the weekend. It is another top 10 win for the Badger men's basketball team, taking down Michigan State, and not just taking them down, dominating Michigan State too. So we'll get back to some more college basketball talk with that. Speaking of basketball, do want to chat a little Giannis. It was All-Star festivities weekend and such, and he did talk a little bit about kind of his commitment to the Bucks and maybe a little bit of an eye towards the future. We'll tell you what he had to say. We'll actually play the clip in that so you can hear it from Giannis himself. Going to talk a little bit about the Brewers as we get set for the first spring training game of the season coming up on Saturday. But the Brewers bringing in another third baseman. Shout out to our guy Brandon, who called it on Friday. Luis Rengifo coming over. Spending 7 years with the Los Angeles Angels, but the Brewers are bringing him aboard to add a little bit more depth and get to why I think where I like this move for a couple reasons in particular. Not because I think he's going to be an all-star or anything like that, but I'll explain that coming up here in just a little bit. But little football chat here too, just because we are getting into we are into the offseason and such. By the way, Packers fans, if you wanted Adam Stanovich gone, probably not going to happen since Seattle has their new offensive coordinator. The Raiders have their offensive coordinator, so everybody's kind of filled in. So sure seems like it's Steno is going to be staying with Green Bay. So I know some people were upset about it or wanted a change, was maybe a little bit more open to the idea, but that is not going to happen. So, all right, let's talk just really quick football-wise, because speaking of football, we're getting to the franchise tag season now. All right, that's going to be this week. Teams can start to place franchise tags on players. That starts tomorrow. They can start tagging players with that franchise or transition designation. So, quick reminder, what's the difference between a franchise and a transition tag? A transition tag is applied to a player. If it is applied to a player, he gets the higher figure between either 120% of his previous salary or the average of the top 10 cap hits at his position over the previous 5 years. The player can negotiate with other teams during free agency, and if he receives an offer sheet, his current team can match that. If the team doesn't match, the player leaves for the contract offered, and the original team does not get compensation. So essentially, it's kind of first refusal, first rights, sort of thing. The difference between transition tag and franchise tag is this. So the franchise tag, there's a couple of them. There's exclusive and there's non-exclusive. On the exclusive tag, a player can't negotiate with other teams. However, they also get paid more. Either the average of the top 5 cap hits from the 2025 campaign at that player's position or 120% of their previous salary. The non-exclusive tag permits a player to negotiate with other teams, and if the player signs an offer sheet, his original team can match it and retain him on that deal. If the team elects not to match it, it receives 2 first-round picks from the acquiring team. That's a lot of info. I understand. A lot of info. So we've seen others, right? We've seen, a lot of times a quarterback might get the franchise tag, and it's exclusive. You're not allowed to go negotiate with other teams. Some will put the non-exclusive where, we'll get 2 first-round picks in return. Transition tag, that has happened before. Remember Green Bay did it with corner. Was it Fuller a few years ago? Transition tag and such. Bears put them on there, and Packers made an offer sheet in that. So that's going to be starting tomorrow. Here are some of your tag numbers, franchise tag values for 2026. For quarterback, $47.321 million. Okay, franchise, that's the amount for 1 year. cap hit. That's that right there. That's big time money. Running back, $14.536 million. Wide receiver, $28.824 million. Tight end, $16.319 million. Offensive line, $27.924 million. Defensive end, $27.322 million. Defensive tackle, $26.311 million. Linebacker, remember this number here quick, $28.197 million. Corner, $21.414 million. Safety, $20.876 million. Kicker/punter, $6.9 million. So kicker, punter has the lowest. Running back, second lowest on there. But going back to that linebacker one, this is where I bring up the Quay Walker question. Now, Fox Sports had, kind of a piece out where they were going through every team and making a couple of free agency moves for each team to bolster up their team. And one of them for Green Bay was signing longtime veteran Calais Campbell, shore up the defensive line. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Probably only be a one-year deal. But the other was to re-sign Quay Walker to about $10 million per year, and without getting into cap hits. Okay, because we know it's not necessarily it's $10 million on average per year, and I'll deep dive into that when we get into free agency, kind of a free agency primer and that. But just to make things simple for conversation's sake, if it cost $10 million per year, average per year, to keep Quay Walker, would you be about that? Would you like that to happen? Would you be like, yeah, sign me up, 100%, man. Let's do it. Pair him up again with Edgerrin Cooper. You got a couple of young linebackers, athletic linebackers, speedy linebackers. Let's roll with that. Or are you on the opposite side saying, it's just maybe too inconsistent. We've seen it enough for the last few years. Let's roll with McDuffie, Edgerrin Cooper, and maybe get Hopper more involved, and maybe we get a draft pick. Or, we draft a linebacker. What side are you on? How would you approach that? And I bring up these franchise tags because I think it's clearly evident franchise tag is probably not in the cards for Quay Walker because $28.197 million. That is more than a defensive end. Okay? Just put it in comparison's sake. Let's say Micah Parsons or maybe Myles Garrett, because Micah might have a debate about linebackers. But let's say Myles Garrett was a free agent and Quay Walker was a free agent. Quay Walker's franchise tag would be higher than Myles Garrett. I'm just putting that out there. Or a pass rusher, edge rusher over a linebacker. That's a lot of money for a linebacker on a franchise tag. Now, players, not always, they don't always like the franchise tag because it's 1 year. There's not a long-term commitment and such. Yeah, it's a lot of money right away, but not a long-term commitment, not a lot of security involved in that. And then you look at the other thing, too, with this whole, should they bring back Quay Walker for like $10 million? Look at the other needs of this team. Maybe need more help at offensive line. Speaking of that defensive line, need more depth there. Need more help there. What about corner? Is it? Maybe you can use that $10 million and allocate it towards other positions of need. How big of a need do you think it is for Green Bay for that linebacker spot? If you have it very high, pretty high, then yeah, maybe you do value bringing in Quay Walker on a $10 million per year average. This is going to be one of the more interesting things for me to follow in free agency for Green Bay, because you go back to last year with Brian Gutekunst, at the combine saying, we want him. We're working on a deal. We're not going to, pick up his fifth-year option because, well, it's cheaper to sign him to a long-term deal. And that was over a year ago now, or about a year now. And there's been nothing. There's been no movement. I'm sure they've talked, and I'm sure they've had maybe some negotiations and such. But do they still have that same mindset? Does Goody still have that same mindset? Do they still want to, sign him to an extension? Or are they going to move on and say, you know what? We got Edrin Cooper. Really excited about his ascent, the trajectory of his career. Isaiah McDuffie, not an all-pro linebacker, could get you some solid reps. Maybe they want to see a little bit more from Hopper, and then maybe they utilize that draft. So, I mean, they're not going to they're not going to franchise tag him. Now, I was looking on SI.com, and they did put potential franchise tag targets for 2026. They do have somebody for Green Bay, and it's Quay Walker, which I would be shocked beyond shocked if they did that. Now, could they flip him and trade him for a pick? They could. They 100% could. They've done it before in the past. It's risk, but they could. And that's one thing that I'm not going to completely ignore. Just because Green Bay does not have that first-round pick this year, and they got holes in a win-now team, would I completely shut down the possibility of Goody putting a tag on one of these guys and then maybe trying to flip them? No. I put the chances at incredibly low. But I got to imagine it maybe has crossed his mind at some point. But what SI says here, the Packers might let Walker go in free agency considering they have already invested significantly on the line with Zach Tom and Aaron Banks. That duo is signed on contracts worth a combined $165 million, while Elton Jenkins is also due $24.3 million against the cap in 2026 if he's not released or extended. Walker is arguably the best tackle on the market, and he could easily exceed $20 million per year on his next deal. If the Packers slap the tag on him, he'll earn $27.1 million, eating away at precious cap space for Green Bay. All right. But send me your thoughts. All right. Do you keep Quay for 10 if it costs 10, or do you move on and save that money and put it towards other needs on this team? All right. Kind of an informal poll question here this morning. Let's take a quick break. We'll switch to some gears and talk some baseball, talk some Brewers. Let's get to know the new third baseman or a new option at third base for the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll hit that up coming up after these quick words. Hey, if your vehicle's in the market for some new tires, it's time. If you know, it's time to get some new tires. The tread's getting worn down. Maybe you could tell that vehicle is maybe pulling to the left or right. Give our good friends at AJM Automotive a quick call. All right, get scheduled for some new tires, wheel alignments, and you're getting some money off, $10 off too. So, reminder, AJM Automotive now has 2 locations right here in Eau Claire. Check out their Facebook page, all right, for all the details and the different numbers and such. I'll give you the number to the new location, 715-895-6111. Okay, they're located at 1627 Bellinger Street in Eau Claire. That's the new location. The OG, the original location, still over there at 1919 Brackett Avenue. And their number, 715-835-9523. I know that's a lot of phone numbers or a few phone numbers or a couple phone numbers there and such. So, again, check them out online, ajmautomotiveservices.com, or look them up on Facebook, okay? So, whether it's new tires, maybe it's, you need that oil change, all right? Maybe it's, you got to have some engine work done, brakes, whatever the case may be. You can trust the pros and the experts at AJM Automotive right here in Eau Claire. Let's talk some baseball. Speaking of which, shout out, Blue Gold Softball got underway this past weekend too. So I know AJM Automotive, John over there, big-time Blue Gold Softball coach, is helping out with the program and such too. So, but getting into a little bit of softball and such too. So they got a little exhibition underway and such. Going to have some more coming up this weekend too, or I should say on Friday. A little youth night action coming up at the Sound and Tag Center. So, but baseball-wise, Brewers reportedly going to be bringing in a new third baseman, Luis Rengifo. Guy that Brandon mentioned, if you want to go back to our Friday show and kind of listen to what Brandon talked about with him as an option. Brewers reportedly bringing him aboard, which I've, looking at his numbers. So is he going to be giving you like 30-some home runs? Odds are pretty low. Okay, he's not going to be a big-time power bat that you're going to plug in the middle of that lineup. Okay, the most home runs he has hit in a season, you got to go back to 2022 where he hit 17 dingers. He followed it up in 2023 with 16, 52 RBIs, 51 RBIs in those seasons. Last year had 9 home runs in 147 games. The year prior, in just 78 games, he had 6 home runs. So it's not going to get you a ton of power. But the reason I like this move is a couple parts here. It's a veteran. You're bringing in, and it feeds into, or it correlates to, you're not forced now to maybe carry a younger guy that isn't quite ready. You're not forced to say, hey, Jet, you got to be our third baseman. I know you don't have a ton of time at third and a ton of reps at third, but you're going to have to do it now at the major league level right away. It gives them a little bit of flexibility. It gives them a little bit more breathing room. A little similar to last year when they opened up the season with Vinny Capra and Oliver Dunn at third base, and Caleb Durbin started the season off at AAA. It gave them a little bit of room. Now, Vinny Capra was tattooing the ball in spring training last year, so that kind of made it a little bit easier to say, all right, yep, we're good. We're not going to rush Caleb Durbin. And then as soon as the season began, after the opening day home run from Vinny Capra, you weren't getting anything from third base. So then in steps Caleb Durbin and such. So, but I like the move because it gives them a veteran that has been there for 7 years, has a lot of playing experience. It's not just a veteran that gives you maybe on average 20 games a year. I mean, in his 7 years, he has played in over 100 games, 4 of those years, coming off of last year even playing 147 games, the most in any season during his career. And if they do decide at some point in the regular season to make that move and promote Jet Williams or whoever it may be to third base, then you got a guy that gives you some versatility at second base, at shortstop, and at third base. Then you have that utility guy that you can bring off the bench. Heck, he's even played some outfield. He's even done that. So you got that versatility with looking at what he did last year in terms of where he played in that. He played 76 games at third, 74 games at second, 10 games in the outfield, 1 DH, 1 shortstop. So in 2024, he started 1 game at shortstop as well. Not a ton of time at shortstop. 2022, he did play 19 games at shortstop, 37 games in 2023. So, but again, he gives you that versatility that, hey, you need a day off or maybe you need to do a late game sub. You have that flexibility with the double switches and all that where maybe we're not, asking, remember last year, Andrew Monasterio to play first base and that. But that's why I like it. The biggest reason why I like this move is because it doesn't force the hand to maybe play a guy that might not be ready. You get a little bit of breathing room here. You have a couple of veteran options now at third base to open up the season. Are they the best options that they could possibly be? Probably, it probably doesn't move the needle for a lot of Brewers fans. Let's be real. It's not any sexy moves. It's not any moves that's going to get like, oh man, no, we got our 3-hitter. He's going to give us 30+ home run. It's not going to move the needle that way. But they're probably now going to have David Hamilton and Luis on the it's probably going to be on the opening day roster between these two guys. And, you got veterans to open up that season. And what I like about Luis here, too, the switch hitting aspect that he brings, versatility coming up at the plate as well. I think there's a lot to like with this move. So, and really, I think when it comes down to it, you look at some of the numbers, it's not that much of a drop-off between him and Caleb Durbin, if at all. Yeah, you look at last year's numbers, and Caleb Durbin, better in a lot of areas, finished top 3 in the National League Rookie of the Year voting. But when you kind of look at what Luis has done throughout his career, it's like, okay, there really isn't that big of a drop-off. But who do you think is the biggest X factor for this Brewers team as we get set for, the regular season when we get closer? Obviously, we've got our first spring training game coming up. Who do you think is the biggest X factor? And pick one. Just pick one. Or, just pick one. There's a ton of options we could pick here. And you could go about it a boatload of different ways. If you want, maybe make it a little easier. You could pick a pitcher and you could pick a position player. I got 2. So I was going back and forth. I just made it easier on myself. I'll be honest. I made it easier on myself. I'm gonna go 1 pitcher, 1 position player, because I was going back and forth between these 2. X factors that could go a long way in helping the Brewers get back to the postseason. Let's see if we match up on any of them. We got to take a quick break, though, as we're a little bit past the bottom of the hour, halfway through the second quarter already. We'll be right back after these quick words. Looking for a great place to gather in the Chippewa Valley? Check out the VFW Post 305. With a full calendar of events, live music, and a menu packed with crowd favorites, it's a spot where everyone feels welcome. Whether you're stopping in for a casual night out, meeting up with some friends, or maybe catching up over some great food and beverages, there's always something happening at the VFW Post 305. You can visit them today at 1300 Star Avenue in Eau Claire. And again, reminder, for our Hoop Skip Day coming up Friday, March 20th, we're going to be over at the VFW Post 305. Before we get to some Brewers chat here, C-Bomb chiming in on the Quay Walker issue, or I should say really issue, but it says, I really like Quay. I would love to keep him, but $10 million per year, I think I would roll with McDuffie. $10 million a year is equivalent to what TJ Edwards gets. Would you give Walker a comp to Edwards? I don't think I would. Couple other texters chiming in on this topic as well. We've got Greg saying, I would be intrigued with Quay Walker and Edrin Cooper with the young athletic linebacking duo, but I think this team needs more resources elsewhere, so I would probably have to pass as much as I would like to keep those two together. Kevin on the Shoe Doctors bullpen line also saying, he would move on from Quay Walker. Too inconsistent for me. Has all the talent in the world, just wasn't able to put it all together. I think the Packers should use that money to either bring in a corner or some offensive line help. John says, yes, for $10 million a year, I would bring back Quay Walker and pair him up with Edrin Cooper, maybe on a one-year prove-it deal, see how maybe he can be better in Jonathan Gannon's system. So, all right, there's a couple of you chime in there. And remember, too, not only Jonathan Gannon's system, but they will have a different linebackers coach, too, if that factors into it or not. The UW lacrosse product, remember? So, all right, keep those coming, okay? Brewers signing, we talked a little Brewers there, too, with Ren Hefo and such. A couple of you chiming in saying, I like the signing in terms of bringing in another depth piece at third base. I'm not expecting a ton from him, and I still think eventually Jet Williams takes over that spot. That is from a Troy on our texting line. Bill on the texting line says, it's a move that doesn't move the needle for me. I totally get it why the Brewers did it. I'm just glad that they brought in another veteran, but not expecting much different from the offense. So, couple of ex-player picks here. We've got Keith saying my ex-players, one pitcher, one position player is going to be Jacob Mizorowski and Jackson Churio. Brian coming in and saying Brandon Woodruff and Christian Yelich. We've got another John saying his X-Factors for the Brewers, player-wise, are going to be Jackson Churio and Brandon Woodruff. Got a couple more to get to here. But I think, for me, I'm going to go a little bit of a different route here on one of my position players. But first off, pitcher-wise, I'm going to go Mizorowski just because I think there's still a little bit of an unknown what to fully expect from Miz. Like we saw the good, we saw the erratic from him last year. I don't know what to expect from him this year. I hope it's more consistency in the part of him being a dominant pitcher. I know there's some talk about him. He's made some lists out there saying, hey, who's the next pitcher that could be like that Paul Skeens where he wins a Cy Young in his second year and Mizorowski is the popular pick? Yeah, I could see that, but I could also see Mizorowski maybe being a little erratic at times too. And that's why, to me, he's the X factor. If we get a Mizorowski that's going to go out there and get you double-digit games, and he's going to pitch like he did in the postseason or the beginning of the year where he was just striking out guys left and right and kind of making them look foolish, but he's hitting the zone, he's getting those guys out, that is going to be such a huge boost to this starting rotation that is filled with youngsters outside of Brandon Woodruff. Mizorowski, I think when you look at all these starting pitchers, there's no question. He is the one with the most potential. He is the one with the highest ceiling. If he hits all those marks and he hits that potential, that is going to be one absolutely special player. He has all the makings of it. Will it happen this year is the big question. I think he's in a good position to do so. Chris Hook and that pitching staff know exactly how to get the most out of these pitchers, how to get the best out of these pitchers. Mizorowski is in a prime spot for this. He's in a smaller market, so he's not in a big market where there's probably going to be that added extra pressure on him to be the next coming of who knows what, fill in the blank, Randy Johnson, whatever. But he is surrounded by the resources, specifically the coaching staff, that I think is going to put him in a really good spot. It's just going to be as soon as he hits that mound in a game, can he put it all together? And can he be that guy? Can he be that X factor? Position player wise, you could go with a lot. Last week we talked about where I think, Contreras is one of the most important pieces to this season, not only just because we focus on the offensive aspect of William Contreras and what he brings from a catching standpoint from that offense side, but you look at how he manages a pitching staff as well, right? Look at what he had to do last year with, especially at the beginning of the year, a lot of new guys coming in because of injuries and such. And this year, he is tasked with helping out a pitching staff that is incredibly young outside of Brandon Woodruff, incredibly inexperienced. Got some experience last year for some of these guys like a Patrick, like a Quinn Priester, and Miz. But Contreras is going to be tasked with handling that pitching staff, and a lot's going to be on his shoulders. That's an easy pick. I'm not even going to – I wouldn't argue with any position player, to be honest with you, on this team. I wouldn't argue with the Christian Yelich picks. I wouldn't argue with the Jackson Chourio picks because entering year 3, is he going to be a 30-30 guy? That was a talk last year. Did injuries kind of sidetrack that a little bit? Now he's entering his 3rd year. I'm not going to argue with if anybody picks Bryce Terang. A couple of you picked Bryce Terang. And you mentioned the power aspect that he potentially brings. We saw a little bit of that towards the end of last year. I saw somebody mention Joey Ortiz, if he could get back to being an offensive guy that he was a couple years ago. I'm not arguing any of those. The one I am going to throw out there that a couple of you did mention too is Garrett Mitchell. Because if Garrett Mitchell, the guy just stays healthy so we can see what he can bring to the table, that would be an instant huge boost. Can we just get this guy healthy and play 100-plus games? But we got to know what do we got in Garrett Mitchell? We talk about, again, potential, the ceiling of this guy. There's a lot there. There's a lot to like about Garrett Mitchell. But we haven't quite seen it all because injuries have delayed this. There was a lot heading into last year at this time. We were talking about Garrett Mitchell. Okay, that's got to be the guy that's going to provide some of that power that was gone with Willie Adames leaving. Garrett Mitchell is kind of that guy. Is like, okay, this has got to be the guy that provides that. Injuries derailed that. Didn't get to see it. So if he can stay healthy, that's priority number 1. Then number 2, what can he bring from an offensive standpoint? Can he provide that consistent bat in the middle of that lineup, in the middle of that order? We all know this is a team that probably needs a little bit more power. The power right now, when you look at this lineup, is probably coming from 3 or 4 guys. Andrew Vaughn, which a couple of you mentioned as an X factor, and again, I would agree. I can't argue against that one too, because are we going to get the Andrew Vaughn that we saw as a Brewers uniform, or are we going to get the Andrew Vaughn that, towards the end of his White Sox career? White Sox is a bad team and a bad franchise right now, so But it's a little bit unknown, right? But we know he brings power. Christian Yelich, of course. You throw in Jackson Churio with his pop. Maybe you throw a little Contreras in there. But Garrett Mitchell, to me, is a big-time X factor because if he can, one, just stay healthy. So where he's in that lineup more times than not, 100-plus games. And if he can provide a consistent bat in that lineup, in that order, maybe a little pop too, that fills in a lot of the concerns I think that people have for this for this offensive lineup. But honestly, pitching-wise, Mizorowski has been, if I'm just going through some of the messages I'm getting right now, Mizorowski is the clear-cut front-runner with X-Factor from pitching standpoint. A couple of you have mentioned Uribe in the closing role. Another one mentioned Aaron Ashby. By far, it's been Miz. Position players, all across the board. I don't even know if there's probably a clear-cut favorite or a majority. And it makes complete sense because I can't argue with really anybody that's been picked. All right, we got to take our final break. Continue to send me your thoughts, though. We're going to be wrapping up the second quarter already, man. All right, I like it. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. When it's time to shop, make it simple on yourself. Head to Hy-Vee in Eau Claire because they got you covered, from fresh produce and bakery favorites to pantry staples, household items, and everyday essentials. Hy-Vee makes it simple to get everything you need in one stop with friendly service, great selection, and helpful local employees ready to assist every step of the way. Shop in-store or online or use curbside pickup and save time every week. Hy-Vee in Eau Claire, where there's a helpful smile in every aisle. Coming up just past 8 o'clock, we'll tell you what Giannis had to say this All-Star weekend about his commitment and drive to win another title. We'll hear it from himself. We'll play that clip. We'll get back to some more Badger men's basketball with another huge win. G-Man, good to hear from the Hall of Famer chiming in saying, DK, now Bucky, way to go against Michigan State, and now go to Ohio State and win the game. So we'll get back to some more college hoops chat and such. Continue to send me your best and worst from the weekend, brought to you by our good friends from VFW Post 305. Your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying, we'll hit that up in the next hour as well. Again, fill in the blanks. You guys know the drill. Guys and gals know the drill on a Monday morning. I'm not just saying blank, but I'm just saying blank. All right, best ones we'll read up on the air. All right, so we'll get to that as well coming up in the next hour. Catching up on a few more texts here on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line. Again, a lot of you picking Mizorowski for the X-Factor. It's all across the board for position player wise. Zach says position player. He's going to go with Bryce Terang. Dave going with Contreras. Phil going with Vaughn. We've got a couple Yelich picks from Mike and Travis. And we've got Zach, another Zach coming in saying Garrett Mitchell. So, again, all across the board, which I can't argue with any of them. They're all X factors probably. So, back to the Quay Walker one. Again, kind of an informal poll question that we threw out there. If it costs $10 million to keep Quay Walker, would you do it? I'd say right now the majority is saying no. If I were just to kind of mentally add it all up, I'd say the majority is no. Greg says, love the athleticism he brings, but he's too inconsistent for me, and I think they have other needs. Use the money elsewhere to bring in an offensive lineman and corner and some defensive line help. Another texter comes in, says, no, I would not bring him back for $10 million. Use the money elsewhere. We got Adam saying, I would be intrigued to bring him back to pair him up with Edrin Cooper for a few more years, but I think the priorities are elsewhere. Also, I think it might be just a little bit more than $10 million because I think one team's going to give him a lot more than what Green Bay would potentially be willing to give him. So, and then a couple of you chiming in on the new third base edition for the Milwaukee Brewers, Luis Rengifo. We've got Brad saying, I like the move for a lot of the reasons you already said. It provides some veteran depth so they're not forced to play a youngster before they may be ready to contribute at the major league level. Not expecting a ton of production from him, but he provides position versatility and that veteran experience at third base. Another texter chiming in here saying, wasn't expecting the Brewers to bring in a big bat to fill the hole. It would have been nice. I think a lot of us as Brewers fans would like to see more power from that. But this move makes a lot of sense just to add some veteran depth at that position. This is kind of an intriguing one. Texter said, a question for the rest of the listeners. Do you think, when you look at it right now, that the Brewers overall got better at third base from a depth perspective? As they point out, Durbin, Monasterio, and Siegler versus Hamilton, Luis, and Jet Williams. That's an interesting way to put it. All right, I'll throw it out to the rest of you. If we use those three on each side, like Team Caleb, or should we call it Team Jet Williams? Team Caleb had Andrew Monasterio and Anthony Siegler. Team Jet, assuming we see him at some point at third base this year, has Luis and Hamilton. Which third base trio, which third base depth do you like the most? That's an interesting way to kind of put it. All right, rest of you armchair MVPs, let me know. All right, let's help answer this texter's question. It's an interesting one. I like it. All right, shot clock's going to cut me off here, so we'll kick off the third quarter talking a little hoops. What did Giannis have to say over All-Star weekends? We'll play that, and we'll get back to some college basketball chats with the Badgers having a fantastic week last week. 2 hours in. We got 2 more to go. We're at the halftime mark. We'll be right back after these news updates. Third hour, third quarter, kicking off right now on this Monday morning of February 16th. Thanks for hanging out with us this morning. If you're just joining in, welcome aboard. You've been missing out on a lot so far. Hey, thanks for tuning in. If it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Maybe you're streaming us up online at sportstalk1051.com. You've got your Alexa device. Just say, yo, Alexa, play WAYY. Google device as well. You can download the Wisco Sports App. YouTube video stream is also up and rolling. Man Cave TV, multiple ways for you to be tuning in this morning. Coming up an hour from now, our good buddy Justus Cleveland, sports director, WEAU 13 News, will be joining us. We've got a loaded local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center. We've got brackets out for girls high school basketball. We've got playoffs starting for hockey this week. We've got WIAC champions for wrestling and men's hockey and such. So a loaded local sports roundup coming your way at next hour with our expert, Mr. Justus Cleveland. Again, Sports Scene 13, WEAU 13 News. Before the conclusion of the second hour, we had a really I'll tell you what, Texter, I think I'm gonna steal this as our post Glass and Mirror 715 Speaks poll question when we post it up later on today. But essentially, they're asking, which third base trio would you take? They're asking, did the Brewers get better depth-wise now at third base? You know, they traded Caleb Durbin, Andrew Monasterio, and Anthony Siegler. And now they've got Jet Williams. They've got the new addition from the weekend, Luis Rengifo, and David Hamilton. So you got two veterans and a prospect of Jet Williams. I think for me, I think they got better depth-wise from a veteran standpoint. The biggest question is going to be if Jet Williams is the third baseman. We're just kind of assuming. That's the assumption we're just going to throw out there. I think they got better in terms of, like, if we compare Hamilton and Luis versus Andrew Monasterio and Siegler. Brewers got better there. Did they get better with Caleb Durbin versus Jet Williams if we use those two? I feel like the Brewers felt like they got peak Caleb Durbin last year. That's just my gut, because it is such a rare move for the Brewers to they acquired Caleb Durbin as part of the Devin Williams trade. He finishes top 3 in his rookie year in National League Rookie of the Year race. They control him, right? Under contract for a few years. So it was kind of rare for the Brewers to make this. It makes you wonder, did they feel like they saw peak Caleb Durbin? And they feel like there's more potential now with a Jet Williams. Like that peak could be higher. To quote Michael Jordan, the roof is the ceiling. Do they feel like that ceiling, that potential is higher for Jet Williams? I think they do. Are we going to see it this year? Is Jet Williams going to finish top 3 in National League Rookie of the Year like Caleb Durbin in this past year? I don't know. And I feel like that was kind of the case too with Isaac Collins. They probably felt like, hey, we're going to cash in when it's high. We feel like that's probably going to be peak Isaac Collins, and we're going to try to cash in right now while that value is pretty high. And I think they felt that way too with Caleb Durbin. That's just my thoughts, though. But yeah, I think depth-wise they got better. All things considered, I think they did. Speaking of which, with our post Glass and Mirror 715 Speaks poll question, we did post up a question last night with the first spring training game coming up here this Saturday. And with spring training in the books and maybe following along and you're seeing all the guys getting their workouts in and such, what is the biggest storyline you will be following this spring training for the Milwaukee Brewers? 76% of you voted saying it's the third base competition. 24% of you said it's the starting pitching rotation. So if you want to vote, you can head to the Sports Talk 105.1 Facebook page to cast your vote. Let's switch gears here for just a skosh. It was NBA All-Star festivities. If anybody watched it from beginning to end yesterday and you want to give me your analysis on it, how you thought it all went down, go right ahead. I'll be honest. I watched a little bit of it here and there because of the youngster with the guy. with my guy, but it was fine. I mean, it was fine, kind of, with the 3-team world stripes and stars and such. Anthony Edwards getting the All-Star MVP. I did appreciate they moved the time they didn't start so late and it ended late. Even on the Saturday events with the 3-point contest, Dame winning it. I mean, I appreciate they wrapped it up fairly quick for us older people now too, right? But Giannis chatted a little bit with ESPN, with ESPN and ESPN's Malika. I was trying to find her name, Malika Andrews, in an interview, and I'll just play the clip. All right, it's just a couple minutes long, and get your thoughts on it. Anything kind of stand out to you? Let me know. All right, audio courtesy from ESPN.
As of today, I'm committed to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm committed to the people that I work with, my teammates, the coaching staff, Coach Duck, and John in the front office. What I've said from the beginning of this year is that out of my mouth and the way I've carried myself, you will never hear me say I don't want to be a Milwaukee Buck.
Giannis, your interviews, as long as I've known you, there's been two things that that have been tenets of who you are, who I've come to know you to be, and that is a winner, and that is deeply loyal. Do those two things feel at odds to you right now?
No, no. I am a winner, and I'm extremely loyal. But the only thing that I feel sometimes, and I'll just get vulnerable for a second here, is that growing up you dream like, oh, what if I played for the Knicks, Madison Square Garden? What if I get drafted by the Lakers and I'm teammates with Kobe? What if I go and play for the Cavs and LeBron passes me the ball? Like, you're just dreaming, right? So it doesn't change when you're an adult. You turn on the TV, watch OKC, watch San Antonio, it's like, oh, would that Jill be? How would that work? Like, you always dream. If there will ever be a scenario of me not being a Milwaukee Buck no more, I don't want anybody to ever think like, hey man, I quit on my team, because this is my team and I love it.
We've had a lot of interviews over the years.
Yes.
One of them was in 2021. It was right after you won a championship. You said to me, we might never win another one. It's fine. I'd rather do it this way, win one this way, than go anywhere else and win 2 or 3. How do you reflect on that now?
When you've had a bite of a really good steak, and all of a sudden you go to somewhere else, so time goes by and you're just having the big steaks in front of you, and it's just like not good, and you know how that steak feel, you want that steak again. But that's where you got to come to the realization that what if that feeling is, I won't feel it again and stay in Milwaukee, and are you okay with that? And the answer is no, I'm not.
All right, so again, that's audio courtesy from ESPN. Giannis chatting with him a little bit over the All-Star break and such. So I don't think there was, just in my mind or in my opinion, I don't feel like there was anything like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that, or any holes in it, like, okay, what does he mean with that? The part that I think a lot of people are probably, maybe the talking heads out there, are going to focus on is when he talks about, dreaming of playing with the OKC Thunder right now and Boston Celtics and such. Honestly, I don't think he's wrong. I think more players, more athletes, more adults do this. They just probably don't talk about it. And Giannis does. And again, what he said was, quote, growing up, you dream, oh, what if I played for the Knicks at Madison Square Garden? What if I get drafted by the Lakers and I'm teammates with Kobe? What if I go play for the Cavs and LeBron passes me the ball? And he talked about that doesn't change as an adult. He pondered how he would fit among, with OKC and with Boston. I think a lot of us do that in our everyday lives with different jobs. What if I was here? What if I was doing, show over here? Or what if I was working for this place and such? You probably don't talk about it, right? You probably don't throw it out in the open, especially in our everyday jobs. It's like, yeah, what if, you're probably not saying it in front of your bosses. Like, what if I was account manager for this? Wonder what that'd be like. You're probably not saying it out loud. Giannis and a lot of these athletes, they're probably not saying it out loud. Giannis does. And honestly, Giannis probably knows too. He can get away with saying stuff like that. But I think and honestly, I don't think there's anything wrong. Like, there's like, oh my God, I can't believe, he says he dreams about playing for Boston or OKC. That's probably what some people will twist it into. They'll twist those words, saying, oh, the clickbait or the headlines are going to be, yep, Giannis said he dreams about playing with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Giannis is dreaming about pairing up with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Context matters. He reinforced his commitment to the Bucks, to his head coach, to the front office. He said he doesn't want anybody to think that he's quit on the Bucks, saying this is my team and I love it. And it fits what he has consistently said over the years. As long as the Bucks are committed to winning, and you look at it right now and you're like, But if they've proven that they want to win or they're committed to winning, he's good. He'll be there. He's not going to force a trade. He's not going to ask for a trade. And, the question about going back to when they won the championship. And when you said this is the way he wants to do it, if this is the only one, it's fine because this is how he wanted to do it. In that moment, I don't doubt for a second that's exactly how he felt. I don't doubt it for 1 second. That's exactly what he felt at that time. But as the years have passed, any competitor will tell you they want another bite of that apple, or in this case, you want another bite of that steak, as he said. You miss that feeling. You want that feeling again. Nobody wants to. A lot of people would just be happy with one championship or one Super Bowl or one world championship. But once you get one, you want more. Right? A lot of people, as soon as they have that feeling and that euphoria, they want it again. They want to experience that again. Any competitor will tell you that. Any competitor will tell you they just want to get one. But as soon as they get that one, oh, I want that again. I want that feeling again. I want another ring. I want to experience that again. So I don't know if anybody's going to try to spin that thing. But I don't blame him, or I don't doubt him that at that moment when he won in Milwaukee, he said, and I guess I should say, I don't doubt his feelings at that point where he said, if it's just one, that's fine. We did it this way. Things change. And at that moment, feelings, and after a few years, it's like, dang, I want another one, man. I want that feeling again. That's natural. That's human, man. That's the competitor. And honestly, I want that from my team's star player. I want Giannis with that feeling. I don't want him saying, hey, we won one, we're good. No, you don't want that feeling. You don't want that mindset. You want your go-to guy saying, okay, I want more. I'm happy we won one, but I want more. We do it every day when we talk about the Packers. We talk about with the Brewers. We're a little bit different with the Brewers. We're at that mindset of like, just give us one. Just give us one World Series with the Brewers and we'd be happy. But you know what's going to happen? After you get that World Series with the Brewers, after a couple of years, you know what's going to happen. We all know what's going to happen. Man, it'd be so good if we could get another one. If we could get another trophy in a trophy case, man, that'd be so good. We're all at that point with the Brewers as a Brewers fan. We want one. We just want one. We say it all the time. Man, it would be so good if they just like maybe force all their chips in the table and try to go for it for 1 year. And let's get one. I'll be happy if we get one. It'll change after that. Guarantee it, it'll change after that. You probably don't think about it right now. You're probably like, no, it won't. I just want one and I'll be happy. I'll get the tattoo and, celebrate for the rest of my life. A few years later, you're like, boy, I miss that feeling. I wouldn't mind another one. I wouldn't mind another one. I'm sure there's probably plenty of Vikings fans saying, man, I'd just like one. I'd like one Super Bowl. I don't care. Just give me one and I'd be happy. Wait a couple more years after that. Wait a few more years after that. And guarantee you the same thing. Man, that remember when we won it? Man, it'd feel really good. We just, Super Bowl was this last week as a fan watching Seattle win. Okay? You're a Packers fan. Didn't it cross your mind? And it's probably crossed my mind after every Super Bowl that Green Bay hasn't won, going back to 2010, 2011 season. Man, it'd feel really good to experience that again. Man, I wish I was going to a Return to Titletown event. Yeah, we do that with a lot of things. Like me and Brandon and our buddies Nick and Josh, we were at the draft. And we all kind of said, this is going to be a once-in-a-lifetime thing, probably never going to experience again. I'll tell you what, might not be this year, but if it's in a couple of years, we'd probably be like, dude, wouldn't it be awesome to do that again? It's natural. It's human. All right, Bucks, though, they get a few days off here. We'll have plenty of time to kind of look ahead to the rest of the regular season. Just 29 games left to go here for the Bucks. They're currently 12th in the Eastern Conference. Their first game back is going to be Friday, taking on the Pelicans of New Orleans. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. Plenty more to get to, though. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. if you find yourself in that unfortunate situation where you need some auto body work done, maybe you got into a fender bender, maybe, I mean, it's common in Wisconsin, right? Maybe you hit a deer and you need to get some exterior work done on your vehicle. Where do you go? Make it simple on yourself. It's Superior Auto Body right here in Eau Claire. They've been doing business since 1971. They know what the heck they're doing. So give them a call, 715-834-7707. You can also check them out at 301 North Farwell Street in Eau Claire. Superior Auto Body, our partners for Backyard Dreams. We're going to have an amazing Backyard Dreams year this year. So, again, reminder, coming up just past 9 o'clock, Justus Cleveland's going to be joining us. We got lots to hit up on in the local sports scene here with some brackets out. I know boys and girls hockey is going to be starting this week. We've got the girls basketball brackets out too, so we are definitely getting to that time. They'll start their playoff games next week and such, but we'll take a look at some of these brackets and where we have, or where Justus, because he's the expert, him and Brandon, where they kind of have their eyes on here. I know Rice Lake's a 1 seed in Division 2, so they got that one there. But we'll go through these brackets coming up with JC in the EC coming up here in just past 9 o'clock, so a little over half an hour. Josh from Eau Claire says, I'm fully on board bringing Quay back. The question is, can we upgrade that position or even stay the same depth-wise through the drafts? I don't think we can. If not, then we're going to have to find a replacement, probably for the same or more money anyways. I remember prior to Quay and Edge that we had a void at inside linebacker for 20 years. They had Clay play inside because it was better than what they had. We finally have starters at the position we don't have to worry about, and getting rid of him puts another hole there, especially if Gannon plays more 3-4 this season. On the opposite side of things, Dave says absolutely not with Quay Walker. He has been way too inconsistent. Pro Football Focus ranks him as one of the worst linebackers in all of football. Use that $10 million to put it towards offensive line depth, another corner, or maybe some interior defensive line help. Quay Walker has a lot of athleticism, but he has never put it together on a consistent basis throughout his years with Green Bay. So, a couple other texts about Giannis. We have Ben say, I completely agree with what you said about Giannis. There's going to be a lot of talking heads that are going to spin some of the stuff that he said, but when you really listen to him actually say that stuff, he sounds like he is fully committed to the Bucks as long as they are committed to winning. Then Dave says, don't have a problem with anything that Giannis said. He has been open and honest about everything in the national media, continues to try to force the issue that he does not want to be there. Let's switch gears here, talk some college hoops. Again, what a week. Best and worst. I'll tell you right now. Best and worst from the weekend. It's our VFW Post 305 best and worst. My best was Badger basketball. Picking up that win. Usually we do it for the weekend, but I'm going to extend it for Badger basketball because what they did last week, getting a win on the road against top 10 Illinois, and then Friday night at the Kohl Center, Michigan State comes in, and they get another win. And they pretty much dominated that game. So my best from the past week, even weekend if we count Friday, is Badger basketball. What they did surpassed any sort of expectation that I had. I wanted just one. I wanted somehow, some way, if they could get one. Of course, I would have loved to, but I was like, okay, if we could just get one win against one of those ranked teams, because this was a Badger team that was on the bubble. If you look at all the bracketology and such, coming off of a bad loss against Indiana, arrow was kind of trending downward a little bit when you look at those bracket predictions, and they had the little arrow pointing down. Now they have 3 top 10 wins, most of any team this college basketball season. I don't know if I'd say lock yet because we still got 6 games left to go here, and they got to take care of business against teams like Oregon and Washington and Maryland and such, and they got Ohio State tomorrow. You got to win those games. Otherwise, you lose those games. It takes away a little bit from these big time wins. But I would say they're definitely probably in a little bit more of a comfortable position. I'm going to be really curious to see Joe Lunardi's bracketology when it comes out, because I did look up CBS Sports and they had Wisconsin moving up to a 7. And Lunardi's last update was on Thursday on ESPN. So, and I know he usually does his, every Monday and Thursday. So I'm still kind of waiting to see that updated one. Because before that Michigan State game, he still had Wisconsin as an 8 seed playing SMU. And if they were to win, they were going to play Arizona for all intents and purposes. Still, if Wisconsin does get into the tournament as a 7 seed, 8 seed, whatever, I still feel like that second round, the round of 32, no top seed is going to want to play Wisconsin. I know CBS Sports had them as a 7 seed, and they would potentially play Iowa State in the second round. I don't think Iowa State wants to mess with Wisconsin. I don't think Arizona wants to mess with Wisconsin. Michigan doesn't want to mess with Wisconsin. We talk about the bracket being bad matchup base. Wisconsin had a bad matchup in the second round last year against BYU. Wisconsin is going to be a bad matchup for a lot of teams in that second round if they are going to be a lower seed. I don't think any of those top seeds wants to face Wisconsin for a chance to go to the Sweet 16. So I don't know. I'd be curious if Lunardi only moves them up one spot. Curious to see the latest rankings and such, but is it fair to say Wisconsin right now playing maybe their best basketball of the season, playing at the right moment? You know, still 6 more games left to go in the regular season. Still got the Big Ten Conference Tournament coming up. A lot of hoops to be played yet. But is it fair to say that, yeah, Wisconsin, they're playing at the right moment. They're playing their best basketball at the right moment. I think you make that case, for sure. No doubt. I think you can. I just hope that they can come back tomorrow. I think the biggest thing now for Wisconsin after winning 2 games like that, 2 top 10 games, you keep your eye on the prize. You stay focused. You don't get your head in the clouds. You don't read your own headlines. You focus. You can't drop a game against Ohio State. You can't drop those games against, Oregon and Washington coming up here next week. You got to stay focused. That's the challenge at hand now. Let's go on a little bit of a run here and start to stack success, start to gain more confidence, more mojo as we get to the tournament. I want to talk more about this team, but Greg Gard. I want to talk a little bit more about Greg Gard. We got to take a quick break, but we'll hit that up coming up here in just a few minutes. When joint pain, stiffness, or injury affects your daily life, you turn to Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Their experienced physicians and care teams provide comprehensive orthopedic care for shoulders, hips, knees, backs, and so much more. They're focused on helping you move comfortably again. From diagnosis to treatment and recovery, you'll receive personalized care close to home. Learn more or schedule an appointment online by going to cvosm.com. Chippewa Valley Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, expert care to keep you moving. So Greg Gard has already matched Bo Ryan in a category here. He has tied Bo Ryan for program history for the most wins against top 10 teams in program history. He has 18 top 10 wins during his tenure leading the Badger men's basketball team. Greg Gard is 18-26. Bo Ryan is 18-33. So Gard has a better win percentage right now, 395, compared to Bo's 353. I think the odds are Greg Gard is probably going to have more career wins against top 10 teams. When it's all said and done, he's probably going to have more. After the game, Tom Izzo, very, 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 very complimentary towards Greg Gard. And Tom Izzo has consistently been very complimentary towards Greg Gard. When Greg Gard got the job, Tom Izzo was the one that kind of went out there and said, I don't like recruiting against him because, just kind of giving him his flowers and his roses and such. And then after the game, after Wisconsin, took it to his team, Izzo implored Badgers, the Badger people, Badger fans, to appreciate what they have with Greg Gard. He doesn't get enough credit. This is what he had to say is just a small clip of his post-game presser after the loss on Friday night. This is Tom Izzo, head coach of the Michigan State Spartans.
Greg's done a great job here. I don't think he gets enough credit. They lost a couple tough games early, and but he's been as consistent and steady as anybody. I came here to speak last year to this cancer deal, and I was so impressed by the people and everything, and he appreciate him. Sometimes I in the league get more credit. Sometimes Payne does. I don't think Greg gets enough credit for what he's done. So my word to you guys that are Badgers, appreciate him. He's adjusted a little bit. He's tried some different things, and he did a hell of a job tonight. They outplayed us in every aspect of the game.
So again, that was Michigan State Spartans head coach Tom Izzo telling Badger peeps appreciate him. Appreciate what you got with him. Maybe he doesn't get enough attention or as much attention or credits as he mentioned, maybe like he does at Michigan State or Matt Painter at Purdue. So I'm curious if the mindset has changed, because it wasn't that long ago. A few years ago when, remember the image, I still remember the photo on social media. I think it was a dorm at Wisconsin that had was it a bed sheet or just a big sign that said fire guard? Now, I'd be curious to hear from people who wanted Greg Gard fired, maybe at that time, to try to bring Tony Bennett in, who's now retired from coaching, or Shaka Smart, who's at Marquette, Madison native, Shaka Smart. Do you kind of like, glad I got that wrong, or you're good with Greg Gard? Now, if you want to say, well, he wins a lot of games in the regular season, wins, those are great, but what about when it comes to the tournament? Yeah, numbers don't lie. The last time Wisconsin's been to a Sweet 16 was 2017. You really can't argue the numbers. The tournament record hasn't been great. Since their last Sweet 16 appearance in 2017, they missed the tournament in 2018. Got bounced in the first round in 2019. 2020, that tournament was canceled. However, remember 2020, though, was the computer simulated one, and they had Wisconsin winning it. And they were playing really good basketball down that stretch too. So put up the banner for that. 2021, they went 1-1. 2022, 1-1. 2023, missed the tournament. They went to the NIT semifinals. 2024, they lost in the first round to James Madison. 2025, they lost to BYU. Yeah, they got to win more in the tournament. They got to get past opening weekend. They got to get past the first 2 rounds. They got to get at least back to a Sweet 16. Put yourself in that position. So if that's the knock that you want to give Greg Gard right now, I can't argue that because those are the numbers. That's what we have to work with here. He's been doing a really good job, but does have to do better. These teams have to win more when it comes to the big dance, when it comes to the big tournament. But Greg Gard overall, I think, has done an absolutely fantastic job as head coach for the Badgers. As Izzo said too, and as we've kind of mentioned, how he's adjusted over the years. Not just because of talent on the team, but adjusted with the changes of the college sports world, the NILs, the transfer portals. Greg Gard has been killing it, I think, in a transfer portal in the last couple of years. Realizes, hey, this isn't like old Wisconsin where we're going to bring in our class and you might have to sit a couple years or you might have to sit a year before you could play. You can't do that. You may be able to do it with a couple players here and there, but you can't do that for your top players. Last year, transfer portal, he hits it out of the park with John Tanji. This year, he hits it out of the park again with Nick Boyd. He's utilizing recruiting across the globe. He has adjusted in so many different ways. Now, we talk about different expectations. We talk about different goals. I want to see Wisconsin. All right, I want to get through the opening round. All right, I want to get back to let's get some Sweet 16 games going here now. Let's get back to that. I don't know if they will ever get to a Final Four again or a national championship. I don't know. But I do want our tournament runs to last a little bit longer instead of one and dones or out in a round of 32s. So I do have a little bit of those higher expectations too. And we'll see if that's going to be the case this year. We will have a bracket challenge up. Somebody did chime in on that. So, yep, we're working on that. We will have a bracket challenge up and such. So, no doubt. We'll get that going here, too, when it's because, tournament time's already almost a month from, it'll be a month from whenever the 19th is, right? Yeah, because our hoop skip day is the 20th, and that's the second day of games. If you don't count the play-in games, if we count that first Thursday, that's March 19th. So, a couple days away, and we're just 1 month away from it already. So, all right. We got to take our final break, and then we're going to be wrapping up the third quarter here. So, continue to send me your I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I'll reveal my I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. If you want to join in, you can do that. You can continue to send me your best and worst from the weekend as well. So, what do you got? All right. Let me know. We'll take our final break, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes to close up the third hour. Got a few minutes left to the top of the hour. Again, joining us in the final hour is going to be our good buddy Justus Cleveland, Sports Scene 13, WEAU 13 News. We've got lots to break down in the local sports world. We've got brackets in girls basketball. We've got playoff hockey in high school this week. We've got WIAC champions in wrestling and men's hockey and such. So lots to catch up on with our good buddy, Mr. JC and the EC, Justus Cleveland. So we'll hit that up coming up in the next hour when he joins us for the final quarter, for the final hour of the program. So we got that coming up. Continue to send us your best and worst of the weekend. Yeah, it looks like a lot of you picking the Badgers, for the best of the weekend. So worst of the weekend. A couple of you mentioned All-Star game yesterday. Still were not a fan of it. So honestly, I think I guess I don't get really up in arms about it too much anymore about All-Star games and that. To me, it's more about kids and just kind of that's where I yeah. Would I like to see the Pro Bowl? Would I like to see the Pro Bowl, get back to what it was when I was a kid? Sure, why not? But it's not. It's not. So I did not see this. This popped up a video. Giannis had All-Star Weekend. Someone asked Giannis if he's coming to Miami. And he said, Giannis, will we see you in Miami? Giannis' response was, for vacation. Nice. Yeah. And some people kind of commented on there too. It'll be probably spun. Because that's what we do. Everybody kind of does that at this point in time. So, but all right. We got a few minutes left. Also, today is since it's Monday, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. All right, best ones. So final call for these in the final hour here. But best ones, you can text those on over to me at that Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. You can hit up the YouTube stream. You can hit me up on Facebook, Dan Kasper Sports, Instagram, Dan Kasper Sports over there too, with the ones that you want, or your best. I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. So for mine, as we wrap up this third hour, I'm not saying Greg Gard is the best Big Ten coach. I'm not saying he's, top 10 college basketball coach in the country, but I'm just saying I think he is one of the more underrated ones. I really do. I feel like he is one of the more underrated college basketball coaches in the country. Given everything that he has done, you look at the program, I don't think he's ever leaving Wisconsin for a big-time program. I don't think that's ever going to happen. I don't think that's going to be the case. So, again, I'm not saying that he's the best. I'm not saying maybe he's even top 10. But I'm just saying, I think he's one of the more underrated coaches in the college basketball world. And I might save this one for another Post-Glass and Mirror 715 Speaks poll question. But I'd be curious to kind of get, where is he at on a Q rating for Wisconsin fans now? I'm pretty confident in saying that Pat Murphy's probably number one. And if we maybe just kept it to Brewers, Packers, Bucks, Badger football, Badger basketball, would Greg Gard be 2? If we open it up completely, Kelly Sheffield's going to be up there. Mark Johnson obviously is going to be up there too. But if we kept it to Packers, Brewers, Bucks, Badger football, Badger basketball, is Greg Gard number 2 on that list? Is it fair to say that? I think so. I might make that a poll question a little bit later on, though. Probably later on in the week. I don't know if I will do it. I like that third base one that somebody brought in a little bit earlier, and I'll throw it out there too. Texter, give me a name so I can give you some cred. But Texter said, do you think the Brewers actually got better depth-wise from third base, moving on from Caleb Durbin, Anthony Siegler, and Andrew Monasterio, bringing in Luis, you got Hamilton, and then they threw in Jet Williams as part of this. I think depth-wise they got better. Now the question is Caleb Durbin going to be better? Is he going to have a better career, or is Jet Williams going to have a better career? And Jet Williams might still be the future shortstop of this team, but like maybe right now. That's a really good question. Yeah, I think I'm gonna steal that as our post glass and mirror poll question for later on today, and then maybe I'll save the Greg Gard one. We'll get through tomorrow's game first. So once they go up against Ohio State. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna. All right, you guys gave me a couple of ideas for some poll questions. Appreciate that. So all right, shot clock's coming off in less than a minute. So we'll kick off the next hour. We'll catch up with JC, and then lots to get to here from the local sports world with brackets coming out in high school, girls basketball. We've got playoff hockey beginning this week. We've got lots of WIAC action. We got some spring stuff starting in WIAC. We've got winter sports starting to wrap up and conference championships, getting out there. So we'll catch it all with Mr. Justus Cleveland coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Continue to send us your texts, your comments, your analysis, all that good stuff. We got that Shoe Doctors bullpen line up and rolling, the YouTube chat also up and rolling here. So we are flying on by on this Monday morning. 3 quarters in, 3 hours in. The final quarter, happy hour, coming up after these news updates. All right, let's get weird here in the final hour of this Monday morning, this crazy, crazy madness. We're going to get back to some more Brewers chat. We've got more Badgers chat as well coming off that fantastic week. We'll talk all about that. We've got our man, Mr. Justus Cleveland, Sports Scene 13, joining us here this morning. Happy Monday, sir. How are you? Is that a Big Ten T-shirt you got on underneath there? I see the Spartans on the Final Four. Wow,
the 2015.
Yeah,
this baby's seen some wear. I feel like, I don't know, what do you do with old T-shirts? Like, is there a point where you're like, I don't want to throw this away?
Stuff like that I can't throw away.
Right. So it's like, I'm going to probably retire it and then just put it in a box somewhere so I can be like, I have another one. Like, I have a long-sleeved one that I have never really worn, so it's the same T-shirt.
Like championship Final Four ones, I actually just recently, because they were in a box, so I took them out and I folded them, and I have like a wooden locker in the man cave with all my jerseys.
Oh, okay.
So they're in there.
Yeah.
It's like I can't get rid of.
No, this shirt I love. It's just, and the fact that now it's been 11 years since that 2015 run. And
we were actually talking about that run, and Brandon on Friday said this would he name dropped you. He's like, I'd really be curious to hear from Justus on this because you were there.
Right.
And I think that's still one of the biggest heartbreaks for a lot of it's mine.
Yeah.
Number one. You being there and just the emotion that you probably saw from the players and such. I mean, was that kind of the most emotional you've maybe seen of all the sports you've covered? I mean, we were all distraught.
Right.
I can't imagine those players and how they felt.
That locker room, was probably as devastated of a locker room that I've ever been in. I mean, It was tears everywhere. Like, guys, because you knew that was the end. Like, obviously 2014 they had the run, but you knew they were coming back in 2015.
Yeah.
2015, you knew pretty much that whole team was going to be – there was a couple guys that came back, but it wasn't anywhere near the caliber. So, yeah, that was one of those where you walk in and you're like, oh, it kind of feels like a funeral because you're just like, oh, man, this is the end of this. And problem is, like, I barely remember anything from the games. I do remember Duke, Tyus Jones going nuts and, Grayson Allen and all that. But I was so like, what do I have to do after the games? A lot of those, it was like, okay, it was more react to what happened. And now this is what the game plan. It was me and Chance Stickman were down there, and it was just a chaotic week. It's like you really had no time to breathe.
Yeah.
Because something was going on from one point, and we were doing so many different hits on the shows, like live hits. And so to me, it's like I need to sit back and go back and watch that game so I can remember exactly what happened in it, because it was like that whole weekend was just a blur. But it was, I'll never forget the feeling. The feeling leading up to it, like how big of a game. Like, I've been to the Super Bowl. I think that one had a bigger feel because there was a team involved that I have been watching for my whole life. And then the feeling afterward of they were that close.
Yeah.
Really, I mean, till the end of that game, they were right there.
Right. Yeah, it's just I think that was probably the most popular pick for the biggest heartbreak that for a lot of fans.
Because I think if you're like a Duke or a Kentucky, there's always a chance that you're going to be back the next year.
Because that was the thought I had. I'm like, we're not going back again.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's ever going to be, but that's the initial emotion of that, right? It was like, that ain't happening again.
I think this day and age in college basketball, there's probably a better chance now of them. Back then, it just felt like for those teams that weren't the top majors, that window was going to close so quickly.
Right.
For those teams, like a Gonzaga or something like that, when these and I don't like putting the Badgers aren't a mid-major. They're in a major conference, but it just felt like it was that window was going to close quickly, and it kind of has since then. But who knows with this team? This team is opening up some eyes here the last week.
Yeah, they are, dude. I mean, Greg Gardner's already matched the amount of top 10 wins that Bo Ryan had, 18, which is like, holy moly. But
Dan, there's somebody else out there better. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but there's a large
Tony
section.
Bennett doesn't have a job right now.
Yeah, exactly. There's always somebody out there better.
Yeah.
I
think he's one of the most underrated coaches in college basketball.
I do too. Because he's navigated from that traditional world now into this completely Wild West world that is college athletics, and has done a good job, and it's completely changed his offense.
Yeah.
I mean, people are like, oh, this is just Badger swing offense. And Badgers are scoring like 90 points.
Right.
A ton of times.
Yeah.
This is a completely different look for this Badger team. And Greg Gard's been able to change his offense into that from what was, You go back to Bo Ryan, and then if you really kind of want to even go back to the Dick Bennett, Bo Ryan was a little different, obviously, than Dick Bennett's style, but still, it was slower.
Right.
Now,
Right. It was like if you got to 60 points, you're like, holy crap.
yeah. And we saw plenty of games that were like in the 40s where you're like, yep, this is Badger basketball. So this one, and this last week, this one from a team that was on the bubble, which I still thought was kind of crazy that they were on the bubble. But they only had, one top 25 win at that point?
Michigan.
Yeah. Two top 10 wins in a week.
Yep.
So you got to feel like they're pretty firmly in there. Now, granted, don't collapse.
Yeah,
here.
don't collapse against, like a Oregon or a Washington,
Right.
Coming up. So,
But that I haven't looked at the bracketology for this week, but I would imagine that this has boosted their.
I know CBS had them up to a 7, which still is kind of okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Lenardi's yet. I know Lenardi came out with his top 4 seeds for each region, but he doesn't have the whole thing.
Did they break into the top 25 finally?
I don't think that's out yet either.
That's right. That's today.
Yeah, it comes out today. So, okay, the bracketology isn't updated yet fully on either here.
I mean, you would feel at this point. I mean, I feel like they've been on the verge. They should have been in the top 25 here for a while.
You would think, no, that's if they got to be, if they're not 26, 27,
right,
somewhere around there.
You've been back to back. And it's not like they've had a disappointing year before that. Like, they're just a surprise team. This is a team that's been playing well with good streaks here that I feel like they deserve to be in the top 25. So
I agree. Really quick, I know we had a texter, John, said Dolphins released Bradley Chubb, good fit for Green Bay. Maybe. Here's my thing. Remember, that's a Green Bay GM and a Green Bay coach that moved on, too.
Right. So there's chatter.
Yeah, there's probably a little chatter. I mean, never say never, I guess. But then I was looking it up. Rashawn Gary actually had better numbers than Bradley Chubb last year. So big name.
Right. If you can bring him in for cheap. Give him a look, and then if you say,
a 1 year prove it maybe sort of thing.
And if it's like, I don't know if this is what we want, and you can move on and not get too much of a penalty, but he's probably going to get money from somewhere that's going to, like it's a name that you're not just like, oh, this is a guy we're bringing in on veteran minimum.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. So, all right. Tell you what, let's take a quick break because we got brackets to talk about with high school basketball. We got playoff hockey starting this week.
Yes.
I mean, would you say, I think Brian has mentioned, this is now when it gets really crazy?
Oh, yeah. This week really kind of starts it. We had it last, I know we're going to break here quick, but like with wrestling and swimming last week, and now you throw in basketball. We're starting up next week. So this is kind of maybe the last little semi-calmness because you have hockey, but it's not everything at once, which will be next week.
And then you got boys high school brackets coming out next week too.
Yep.
So, man, all right, March Madness, baby.
It is in February.
We'll take We'll take a really quick break, and we'll break it all down coming up after these quick words. All right, let's talk some brackets, shall we? It's our local sports roundup brought to you by Carpet City Flooring Center, and we've got the girls' high school brackets now. Now they still got games this week, right?
Yes.
To wrap up
next Tuesday would be the regional quarterfinals.
Okay.
And then it goes Tuesday, Friday, I believe that's how.
Okay.
Some of them are Tuesday, Friday next week.
So we've got, looking at these starting in, well, I guess, you
We'll
can
go
lead the way.
D1.
D1. So we got Chi High as a 17 taking on Superior starting next Tuesday, and the winner will take on Spash for
that's
that one.
Very tough Spash team that got the 1 seed. I watched them play against both Rice Lake and Memorial early this year. Got 2 outstanding D1 commits on that team. So Chi High, though, I give them a lot of credit. This team has made a step this year, and I hope they can get that win over Superior and get to that second round there.
Yeah, and then a little bit lower, we got Memorial as getting the 4 seed, and looks like they take on Wisconsin Rapids.
Yeah, and that's a 4 seed, and Memorial, I would say they lost Nora Kling to injury, who's their outstanding point guard on that team, and it's taken a little bit of time for them to kind of figure out maybe the rotations a little bit more, but that is a deep team, a talented team, and there's a lot of youngsters on that team. So you see them step up. They got, they would host De Pere too, and De Pere's a tough team if they can get the win. So I wouldn't rule them out. I think they, the end of the season, they kind of had some struggles, but I think that's a team that could figure it out.
Is that kind of for D1 for our area, those teams, or do we have? Oh, we got North on there as a 15 seed too.
Yep.
So and then Hudson's a 7 seed on there.
And
as
then
well.
I know some Hudson people were complaining. Hudson did beat Memorial twice in the year, and then Memorial's. But that I don't know if that you can. I don't know how that works if they drop to a 7.
Yeah,
that to me is kind of crazy. But that's how it's computerized. So
that's right.
I'm not getting into the hardware and all that stuff. So.
How about Division II? And, well, no surprise, Rice Lake's a top seed for this one.
Shepley, the way they've been playing, and just an outstanding season so far for them, still battling for that conference title in the Big Rivers with Hudson there. So they get to bye and get to move on. And, I look at that 5-4 matchup. We got a Medford-Menominee one. Menominee's been playing really good basketball here towards the end of the year. So that's a team that could make some noise there too.
Against my Medford Raiders.
Right.
Yeah.
On Alaska River Falls there as well, a 6-3 matchup in that second round. So, that you look at that one. Rice Lake, potential that matchup against La Crosse Central could be a monster of a matchup there. So that's down towards the sectional semifinals. And then I'm looking down at the other that they'll have somebody from the other side, the east side, with like Shawano right there as a number 1 or Marinette as a number 2. So not going to be an easy road for them to get back to state, but I think they have a good chance as anybody with the way Shepley and Schmidt have been playing.
And then moving on to Division III, and right away I already see a few of our local teams on that top half of that bracket.
Yeah,
so.
I saw St. Croix Central play against Altoona, a couple weeks ago, and they're a good team, And Elk Mound, another tough team that had a 5 seed that can make some noise. I could see them making a pretty good run there. And got Arcadia there if they can get past BRF. And a lot of our teams got Baldwin Woodville thrown there as a 3 seed. They get the bye. Amory, GET, Ellsworth, Prescott, a number 2 seed. So middle border having a pretty good showing there so far in those teams. And then, you go down to Altoona. Altoona, again, this is another team that's played all these middle border teams and taken them to the edge with them. So last year they made an amazing run, and wouldn't surprise me they take on Northland Pines. And they got the quarterfinal game, and then Mosinee would be waiting for them. Stanley Boyd, Northwestern, and then Hayward a number 2 as well. So a lot of good teams on in that D3 bracket that'll be looking to run. And
Bloomer was a 4, I think I saw 2. Was it down there? Bloomer. Yep.
So they got the 4, and they had either Menominee Nation or Barron. So Bloomer 2, another team with the Hartman sisters, and then Zweifel-Hofer there. That's a team that'll be fun. This is a bracket that you could see some upsets happening. We go on to D4.
D4.
Number 1, Colfax.
Another local team at that top
just
spot.
suffered their first loss in a couple months against a tough Mosinee team. They played down a couple divisions there to take on Mosinee, but that's what they've been doing. Played some really tough opponents and not a bad time to play right before the playoffs and just kind of see where you are and get a little back, some coaching moments there that you can throw in there. So
right.
Yeah, you look at that, and then Boyceville's the 4 seed. They also get a bye. You got Ladysmith taking on Ashland. Shell Lake a 3. Cameron a 2. Cameron and McDonald just battled in a game over on Saturday with Cameron getting the win. So, Yeah, I mean, then you got Regis, number 1 right there, and well-earned number 1 for them. And they'll either take on Mondovi or Whitehall. And then I like this matchup here at the 4th. Fall Creek gets the bye. Duran's been playing good basketball as well. They'll take on Osseo, and if we get a 5-4 matchup, that's going to be one that'll be really – and then if you're Regis, looming is Fall Creek, a team that you've played, and that's always dangerous. And then we look at that whole thing there, and it's McDonald as a 3 getting a bye. And they get Cadott or Abbotsford. And then you got Neilsville. I mean,
these are like girls' basketball programs over the last how many years?
Oh, my God. Every one of these
McDonald.
teams.
I mean,
on this, I've covered every one of these teams at state.
Yeah.
Regis, Fall Creek, McDonald, or Neilsville. And then Colfax, at the top of the list there, too. And Cameron's had, Chloe Wannick's their coach now. She was when they had some outstanding teams 10 years ago, she was their, point guard. So, yeah, the left side of that D4 bracket, my goodness, this is going to be fun. I mean, you got potential Colfax or Cameron for a sectional semi. Regis, Neilsville, Regis, McDonald, Fall Creek, McDonald. I mean, you throw any one of these matches. And again, don't count out somebody like a Durand, Arkansas. Cadott's been playing in that Clover Belt all year long. So there are teams in there. Mondovi, Whitehall. So there's so many of these teams you look at that can make a run. So this, again, if you're looking for a bracket that's crazy and it has potential for just being a fun one, that D4 on the left side there, that sectional number 1, if you really want to get technical right there. I'm trying to see if we got anybody hiding. So now we get to D4. There's so many teams.
Right.
But I'm not seeing too many other teams hiding anywhere else in that one. So Mel Min's over on in the sectional 3. Bangor, Luther. So that's where some of the
little bit over there,
more of the Cooley region teams are. All right. We got time for D5?
Oh, yeah, dude.
All right, D5. Now a ton of teams. And I'm looking over on the sectional number 2, and that is Independence Gilmanton.
Top spot.
Getting the top spot there. And if we go down.
Oliva Strum got a top seed, it looks like, too.
Yes, they did. Did I miss them?
Go down a little bit.
There they are.
Yep. Taking on Cornell.
I think Independence, though, gets the bye in the first round. So Oliva Strum, they'll take on Cornell, and that Oliva Strum team has been a machine. I mean, that is an undefeated team, and, they just keep getting better with every game. They play just stifling defense. They can hit threes all day long. So, potentially for them, you got Emmanuel who's in their conference. They've beat them both times. Owen Withy is a team I would look at that if you got to a point where they ended up playing them, could be a tough matchup because Owen Withy plays really, really tough defense. They're not going to score a lot, but they play tough defense. And then, you go down there, and then there's New Auburn. They just wrapped up a conference title for them. Another team that has just played outstanding the last couple of years. So, I mean, if you look at it, there's a potential for a sectional semifinal between Oliva and New Auburn. And so that's what I look at D5. Up on the top, you got teams, and looking who got the one. So Webster, another just a powerhouse team that's been running through. So that would be, you could have a potential Webster and Oliva Strum sectional final. That would be just to go to state. So. Got Alma Pepin on the other side there as well. CFC's on the 6th seed. Blair Taylor getting a 2 seed. That's another, good year for the Dairyland. There's you got a 2 1s and a 2 seed with Blair Taylor as well. So they've been playing some good basketball there in the Dairyland. And I'll make sure there's no one hiding on the other side, which there is. We got to see our favorite name, Butternut. So like that. Schwamagon. Pittsville's over there. They're an 8 seed. So
Edgar's a 5.
Yep. Okay. Rib Lake and some, Yep. But yeah, so I mean, if we look at it, there's some teams that have a very good chance of making a run to state. But I think, again, we go back to that D4.
D4, Brad Wayne.
Yeah. That is, we talked about it with the hockey. And if I can pull that one up quick, I'll try to.
Yeah, definitely.
The boys hockey brackets in D1. I mean, here's what you got. You got the number 1 seed. This is all on the sectional number 1. Hudson's the 1, top team in the state. Wausau West, which I believe is the second top team in the state, is your 2 seed. Stevens Point is your 3 seed. So the top 3 teams in the state are all in that sectional. And only one of them is going to get to go to state.
Oh, my goodness.
And those games are tomorrow. We'll have a doubleheader at Hobbs. You have Memorial, which is a team that can play with anybody. And if they can get on a hot streak, watch out. And they take on Wisconsin Rapids at 5 p.m. tomorrow. And then Eau Claire North has been playing really good hockey as late as well. They'll take on Tomahawk, and Tomahawk's one of those teams that made it to state last year but got bumped.
And they just had, I saw last week, one of their players became the all-time leading scorer in state history for goals. So
that's going to be a 7:30 puck drop at Hobbs after. So if you want a doubleheader action of some hockey tomorrow night, Hobbs will be the place. And then Altoona, me and Brandon doing our research. Brandon probably found it before I did, so I'll give him credit. But Ram playing Chippewa Falls, and the last time we could figure that they played each other, at least in the playoffs, was 2012.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a long time since we've seen a Ram.
14 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
So those were the Jackson Brown, Guy Brown teams for that, made a run all the way to the section finals the next year. So those were some good Ram teams. So, yeah, most of our local teams are all lined up in that D1 because Ram got bumped up because of their success lately too. So that should be a fun matchup there at Chi High as well. So.
Is Rice Lake still in 2?
Yes, Rice Lake's in 2, and their record again doesn't show it, but again they play the big rivers. You're playing 2 of the top teams in the state constantly, and they've been those scores have been getting lower and lower. I could see them making a kind of a run. They have, that I think that's always what happens with Rice Lake. You play this tough competition.
Well, it's like football, right?
Yeah,
and all that stuff too. So
yeah, you throw them in there. I think they look like they have a chance to make some noise. And you got on the other side, then Menominee, team that's been Black River Falls has some top scorers in the state on there. River Falls, I think, has got a good chance to make a run as well. Baldwin's got some super score. So another one of like this D2, the Section 3. It's a coin flip. Who's going to come out of there? It's a lot of these teams are very similar matched, so it'll be fun to watch that one as well.
And then we have girls beginning this week too for hockey, right?
Yes, we do. We got starting on. It'll be Thursday, and where's my?
We got a lot of our local ones.
Okay, there's CFM.
Yep.
So CFM will play on Thursday. They'll take on Somerset. So that's believe the Western Wisconsin Stars.
Okay.
This is where I'm trying to figure out my nickname. ECA, they will play at as well on that same night. 6:00 start for them on Thursday, because I believe that'll probably be another doubleheader. Their potential doubleheader there at Hobbs.
Okay.
With one of the boys' teams. If both of them win, then we'll really see what happens if all 3 of them. But I think North has to go on the road if they lose in the boys.
Okay.
So, if they win in the boys, excuse me. So maybe both of them have to go on the road. I can double check that. Sorry.
No, you're good, dude.
Who doesn't like? So North is an A. Yeah.
Yep.
They would all have to go on. So basically, ECA would have the arena to themselves that day. So I mean, ECA beat some top teams in the state this year. CFM's been playing some good hockey. So this is just going to be. It's just you just talking about it, going through these brackets. We haven't even added in the boys yet.
Yeah.
And this is just how crazy of a time it is right now. So. A lot of bracket watching. Philip, who always likes to at our station, likes to print off the brackets. He's a hand, writes them in and all that stuff. He gets excited.
Boy.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. And we got state swimming. We have team sectionals. They switched up the way state boys wrestling goes, so that sectionals were this past week. So congratulations to all those athletes that punched their ticket to state. And now it'll be team sectionals this week. Then girls will have their, and then it'll be state for boys. Girls will have their sectionals this week as well. So,
okay.
Yeah. And then swimming going to state as well this week. So, yeah.
And then
throw in the college stuff.
I was just going to say, shout out this, when I saw this nugget, Blue Gold Wrestling first outright WIAC wrestling championship in program history. What Tim Fader has done since he has been there to elevate that program. I mean, numbers were low, and now it seems like every year there's been a milestone accomplished when Coach Fader's been there for Blue Golds.
This year you kind of looked like, okay, you had such a great run for the last couple of years and some really good individuals, and you're like, okay, they're probably going to have to take a step back here this year. And what do? Go out, get 3 individual champions, and win the conference title. So, Tim Fader, just again, and now they get to host the regional as well at McPhee. So, not only do they get the conference tournament, now they got, the NCAAs coming to.
Yep.
So, that program, since Tim Fader has been there, has just
Yeah.
It's been amazing the turnaround they've done.
Absolutely. And I know hockey-wise, it was we talked about it last week leading up to it. Stout men's hockey getting the WIAC after taking down Eau Claire in both their games.
Some really good games there on both nights, but Stout just, that Stout's always, I don't know what it is. It always seems like they've had the Blue Gold's number at times when if it's a Blue Gold's, great team.
Yep.
They're the 2 seed. Stout's the 1 seed. I hope we get another matchup in for the conference title in the conference tournament there.
Exactly.
For a chance to go to the NCAA tournament.
Right.
Whew.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. And then, obviously, down to the final 2 games in the conference men's basketball season. Eau Claire hanging on by a thread. Stout suffering a heartbreaking loss over the weekend. And just, Tosh gets a basket with a second and a half. And really, that's all that kept Eau Claire pretty
still
much
alive,
in this.
right?
Yeah. I mean, Stout would add. So, Stout, looking at their matchups.
So they got River Falls and Platteville.
River Falls and Platteville. Or Eau Claire, you've got Platteville and La Crosse.
Oof. Okay.
So for Eau Claire, I believe they won both matchups with.
They did beat La Crosse earlier.
They lost to Stout and beat Stout. So then it comes to common record with teams above you in the conference. And
it's just going to be tight.
La Crosse, I mean, that win over La Crosse is big, but I believe Stout had that. I'm trying to think, was it over Oshkosh?
Yeah, they had a big win earlier on, too.
So it's just going to come down to get your games.
Oshkosh,
They beat Oshkosh there.
Yep.
And they beat Stevens Point.
Oh, yeah.
So right now I would have to give Stout has the edge of the tiebreaker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even saying I think River Falls is right there at 3-9.
3-9 too.
So there's, and Blue Gold's lost to them and split with them, so it kind of goes to the same thing. On the women's side, I think the Blue Gold women right now have the tiebreak. And it's, in the standings it shows that points ahead, but I think Eau Claire has that win against Oshkosh.
Okay.
Which that's a huge win because Stevens Point's 2 wins are we look at it here. They beat Eau Claire, they beat Stout, and they beat Stout. So right now, that's more wins, I think, right there for them beating Oshkosh than those teams do.
Okay.
So it's a matter of, obviously, you get things done.
Right.
You don't want to keep things even.
Yep.
So, again, Whitewater and Oshkosh. No, never mind. That's Stevens Point. Oh, my goodness. Never mind. We're good. We're good. Yeah.
Well,
so, take care of business both against Platteville and La Crosse, and you have a good chance.
Talk about how a difference a year makes, too. I mean, UW Stout, a Final Four team last year, and this year just 2-10 in the conference.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you lose a lot of – I mean, that's college hoops or that's college sports, right?
Yeah, and I think that's turnover. A team that's young, but you've seen glimpses.
Yeah.
And they, again, all these teams have decent non-conference records. If you look, there was a 5-game winning streak there they had.
Well, that's the thing, like with for Blue Gold men's and women's, to begin the conference play, I think they began at ranked top 25.
There's only, Stout's 11-12 this year, and for your last place team to only be a game under 500 overall.
Yeah,
every other team is over 500, and basically well over 500. Even the Blue Golds, as much as they've struggled lately, are still 13-10 this year. So that just tells you just where this conference is, and the men's is kind of it's crazy because Stout has 8 wins, but half of those wins are in the conference.
Yeah.
And that might be enough to get them into the conference tournament. Where the Blue Golds are 14-9, but only 3 of those wins coming in conference. So, yeah. And then just the top of that conference right now. Point, Oshkosh, Whitewater, all 8-4 for the men. La Crosse and Platteville a game back.
Yep.
La Crosse finally losing a game after going, I think, 6 straight.
Since losing Eau Claire that first,
So, you can get into that tournament. Anybody's ball game once you get in. It's just a matter of getting in there.
Exactly. Man, there's a lot going on. I know, Blue Gold wise too. I mean, they had softball exhibition going on, Leslie Huntington's crew getting right, and they got Friday a couple games I think coming up too. So
track and field, indoor track and field going on.
Tennis was going on and such. So, man, baseball I know had a camp this weekend, but they're going to be close.
Gymnastics for both prep and Blue Golds and WIC. So there is no loss for events going on right now. And the Olympics are going on and all that.
The Olympics. Shout out to Jordan Stolz, right? Wisconsin native, getting it done. 2
golds. He's kind of been the darling.
Records, too, or Olympic records, I should say. So, yeah.
And then if we have second, Ben Loomis jumps tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So like 2:00, it'll be around on US. If you have Peacock, the stream's probably the easiest way to get it because you can find it on there. I know USA, I think 3 a.m. If you're up,
I'm up.
That's when they'll do the jumping, and then it's like 6 a.m. is when they do the Nordic race.
Okay.
So potentially his final event as an Olympian. As when I talked to him, he probably said this is probably his last one.
Okay.
He's going to evaluate, but once you get towards 30 in those sports like that, it's funny how quickly age catches up to a guy who I've been covering since he was 11. So, yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Oh, it really makes me feel old. But yeah, good luck to Ben. Been just an honor to cover him. 3-time Olympian.
Yeah.
And hopefully, comes home with, he's happy. He said if it's up to his standard, what his jump is, he'll be happy. So we'll all be watching.
That's awesome. Great local sports roundup by Justus Cleveland, sports director, WEAU 13 News. All right, we're going to take a quick break here. Plenty more to get to, though. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. flying on by. We only got about 20 minutes left of the program here, and maybe you're getting set to watch a little hockey because, would you say, Justus, the women going to get ready
semifinal against Sweden, both teams 4-0. They probably just dropped the puck right now. It says 9:40 a.m. on the schedule, so it's happening right now. Winner faces either Switzerland or Canada. Well, so
rematch potential between the United States and Canada.
Yeah.
So
that's and the fact that the United States put such a kind of whooping on them. Mm-hmm. We were talking in the sports office, like, I don't know if we want that because that's just bulletin board material for Canada of like, you can't get embarrassed. Like, first shutout ever.
Yeah, exactly.
So if they meet rematch, I don't expect it to go like that.
No, I think it'll probably be a little closer. But, I mean, both the United States and Sweden undefeated so far, too. So 4-0.
Do you think, we were just kind of talking off air about the All-Star game. It's interesting scheduling by the NBA to schedule that during the Olympics.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, the Daytona 500 is not moving.
Right.
That's going to happen no matter what. But like the All-Star game, you could have scheduled it seems to move around all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like if they would have went last weekend, it would have been better. I know that was the first weekend of the Olympics, or
so I'll have to double check. I'm going to do it right now, but I thought so. Okay, the Super Bowl next year is February 14th.
Oh, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
There's no heart in the logo. It's the same generic logo now every year.
So, I mean, that's very similar to, and that's President's Day weekend.
Right.
Timing-wise, would the All-Star game be Super Bowl? Because, I mean.
Do you want to? You don't want to go up
against. You don't want to go up
against. No one wants
that.
to go up against the NFL.
No.
Even the Olympics is like, oh, man, we have to. But that was the springboard they used.
Right.
NBC, I mean, if you're NBC, you're like, okay, well, guess what we've had in the last week? We've had the Olympics, we've had the Super Bowl, and then we had the NBA All-Star Game. So if you're NBC, it's like, look at all these things that we've had. So.
Yeah, because like I just looked at Daytona. They're pushing it a week. It's February 21st next year.
Right.
So
yeah, they're not going against the Super Bowl. And that's, and hats off, another interesting final lap on the Daytona. Tyler Reddick getting the win. The drama was there.
Yep. MJ is a champ again.
MJ is a champ. Yeah. I mean, that was a crazy ending to that race. And as somebody who's been watching racing his whole life, what I don't like is, I don't know if you watched any of it, they conserve their fuel. Mm-hmm. So they're not really racing for up until they got to the final pit stop. And then it was all, you'd like to see it a little more wide open, but I get it. These guys don't want to wreck those cars. They just want to get to that last lap. Yeah. And that's how it worked. I mean, Tyler Reddick was in the right place, right time. Looked like 3 other guys had won that race before he ended up getting the win in the end. So I enjoyed it. Yeah. It's as a guy who grew up in the golden age, it's never going to be what it was in the late 90s.
Yeah.
But they're trying to make some steps. They've brought back the full season chase, the full, instead of if you're winning, you're in.
Right.
So now it kind of makes it a little more interesting. And I'm trying to get back in and just kind of pay more attention this year than I have, because I was one of those guys. I mean, my dad was a Dale Earnhardt fan. I watched Dale Earnhardt. All the personalities back in the late 90s. This is the late 90s stuff.
Rusty Wallace, Mark. I mean, I'm not an NASCAR guy, but I was just talking.
Those names.
Exactly.
Terry Labonte, Bobby Labonte. I mean, like, those were it's not so much anymore, but there are personalities. Brian Blaney's personality is awesome. And I'm, not just saying that because he represents a local team. You know what I mean? That's a guy that we just need to get more of those personalities out there. It's never going to be what it was, but I think they're making some roads. What I don't want to see it turn into is an F1, an American F1. F1's a whole different thing. Let's kind of, you still got to realize the roots of where the sport came from. It was moonshine.
Right.
This is a crazy, the origins of NASCAR are crazy. So I would love to see just, and that's, I think we saw a little bit of that over the weekend. So they're making a push to kind of corporatize. It became so corporate. And I think it's because they were making a lot of money. The Jeff Gordon era made a lot of money for them. Unfortunately, then everybody just tried to find Jeff Gordon's.
Right.
Instead, this clean, not going to say anything controversial.
Yep.
Where now...
kind of the opposite of the Tony Stewarts back in the day.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We had a Tony... And it's not like there's a person like Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart. There's been Denny Hamlin even. Hamlin says stuff all the time. So it's there. It's just, how do you get those casual fans back that they kind of have lost.
It's almost like you're picking sides. I mean, really, it's the Jeff Gordons versus the Dale Earnharts, right?
Yeah.
It's the rivalry.
It was. I hated Jeff Gordon when I was a kid. I hated Rusty Wallace because that was the guy that was always right there trying to take away Dale Earnhardt's spot. So, and Earnhardt's death it changed the sport. That was an inflection point that things have never been the same from there. And there was a great documentary that FS1 had about that day and just how things changed. And, there was one of the reporters people are like, oh, the cars, it's so much safer now. It's like, you didn't have to cover funerals. And there was a rash towards that, of deaths.
Well,
Adam Petty,
yeah.
Kenny Irwin Jr., Dale Earnhardt obviously is the one that spurred the most change, but there was, at time in the sport, it was not uncommon for once a year.
Yeah.
For people to die or just have horrific crashes. So the fact that you see the Kyle Newman one from a few years ago where he walked away he walked away in the morning.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have happened 25 years ago. So those changes were needed. It's just now it's the marketing point where you kind of have to start getting back to maybe it's not the car you're pulling up. Back in the day you could look at that car and be like, oh, that's a car. You can see a Pontiac Grand Prix.
Yeah.
You could see that when you saw those cars. You could see the Monte Carlo.
Yep.
Now they all kind of look similar to the same. The Camaro looks the same as the Mustang.
Yep.
So, there's a little things that they need to do, but I think they're trying to.
Yeah. The Dale Earnhardt one, again, I wasn't never a big NASCAR person, but as a youngster growing up, I always played a NASCAR video game. Right. It was just always fun on the computer. But I remember exactly when I found out about Dale Earnhardt. To this day, would have been 01, so I was freshman, sophomore, regardless. But I remember walking into my house, turning on a TV, I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
It was one of those sports moments where it's like, oh.
I was sitting in my dorm room in college watching the race, and you kind of got this feeling once they started cutting, extracting from you're like, oh, this isn't good.
Yeah.
But you didn't think, you still never, in your head, you're like, he's not.
Because it didn't look like that hard of a hit, right?
No.
I mean,
it was one of those, for me, it was, you lose your favorite guy in the sport.
Yeah.
I had other people that I cheered for, but Dale was number one.
Yeah.
And then, after that, a lot of those guys started, you lost a lot of those personalities and guys started leaving the sport. They were getting old and retiring. You had Mark Martin and stuff hang on until 2015 and stuff like that. But now it's I'm trying to, I found myself actually cheering for Denny Hamlin after they had that initial wreck. Because it's he wrecked, but he didn't completely wreck the car. It's that car's still running. So it's kind of, maybe it's the old, I think it's a lot of that, I'm starting to cheer for the older guys. It's Jimmy Johnson, who I would have never cheered for, is out there as the oldest guy, which is crazy. He's the oldest guy in the field.
I still remember watching Dave Marcus's final Daytona 500 because he was rib late,
Yeah.
So over there.
Wearing the wingtips. And that's the thing, even you had your Dick Trickles in the, these were, even these guys that weren't winning races, I had a rooting interest. I loved watching Dick Trickle race because I knew his backstory.
Yep.
You knew he was this great driver who had won all these short track races.
Yeah.
And one of my biggest memories, I know we've gone into a
you're
NASCAR
good,
rabbit hole here, but was when, I think it was either at Richmond, when it was the final laps and he had a rocket. His car was just coming through the top 10. He ended up finishing third in the race. If they would have had another 3 or 4 laps, he probably would have won it. I remember when he won a couple of now go Busch series, but I think it's the O'Reilly series now. But when he won a couple races there, I mean, I had it. In our basement, it was just unfinished wall, so it was just the cement.
Yeah.
And I marked on my wall, Dick Trickle wins at Hickory, blah blah blah, and then I put another one on there. So, yeah, I was a big fan, and then it just got so corporate, and it kind of lost the charm.
Yeah.
It's always when something has that, people like this, but not everybody likes. It's kind of a niche thing.
Yep.
To where it became so mainstream, and it just changed the way the races were. And a lot, I'm not going to fault Fox for what they've been doing. They've been doing it for 20. But the change from ESPN to Fox was completely different too, because it got so glitzy, and when it became a major network thing, it kind of changed the feel too. So I'm sure there are plenty of fans out there who know exactly how I'm going. So, but the Daytona 500, I'm tuning in every year, no matter if I've been watching a race, haven't watched a race in a while. I'll always watch that.
Nice. Good stuff. There you go. There's
my
your
rabbit hole of
the. On that note, let's take a quick break, and then we got well, not really a whole lot of picks because, well, we don't have any NBA games back in action yet, too. So, but we'll start to wrap up things coming up after these quick words. Quick Olympic update. We got a goal already, Justus?
1-0. The United States leads Sweden in the women's hockey semifinal from Milano Cortina, Italy.
I'm glad you pronounced that.
I don't think I said Milano Cortina. I think I switched the A's and the O's on both of them. Italy.
5 minutes in, they already had a goal?
Yeah.
Was it? Man.
That team has been just spectacular so far.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 25-1? They've outscored their opponents, or 20-1, I think it is, or 21-1. Yeah, whatever it is, it's a lot to not enough.
Wow. Back to really quick. I was just going to make this comment. Oh.
Shout out to Sis Paulson, equipment manager.
Nice. Yep.
Claire North alum.
That's right. Forgot about that. I was going to mention it for the NASCAR thing, though, too. I was just going to kind of make a joke. If you'd have told me 25 years ago Jordan would have a championship as a NASCAR owner over NBA owner, like, what are you drinking?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
He was pumped yesterday.
Yeah. That was because they did all those interviews on NBC with him. That was a lot more animated hearing him talk about that than it was about like talking about the NBA at this point.
And the funny thing is too, they're just like a couple months removed from the lawsuit that he was a part of with NASCAR.
Yeah.
So
his cars all ran great there.
Yeah.
Hamlin was in the lead before he crashed out. So he didn't crash out. He actually finished the race. And he had a top 10, and Hamlin ran to victory lane. That's got to be crazy. Like, I wish I would have won, but hey, you know what? My driver won, so just hop out.
Yeah. What do you think? Like Reddick, he's a NASCAR driver, but his owner's flipping Michael Jordan, and Jordan comes running up to him. Yeah, I don't know.
That's got to be great,
right?
The fact that he's just been an all-time, like he's loved racing his whole life. Carolina he grew up in, right? Yeah, so it probably was really exposed to it, but I think a lot of people probably would be surprised to hear Michael Jordan was a big fan, just because you don't think of NASCAR and racing with Michael Jordan. Yeah. That race was just, Daytona's a different beast, restrictor plate racing there. But, yeah, Ryan Blaney was up there the whole time, but that last lap just, it's like you took the dice and rolled it because people were just all of a sudden. And, Kyle Larson's driving out there with, half a car, and he still manages to finish 16th. So, just it was a good day of racing.
Yeah. So, but, hey, Jordan's got his other championship, too, so he can.
Should have got a baseball one, too. Birmingham Barons should have made the run.
Yeah, maybe he can throw in a few million now to a baseball. Maybe he could throw a few million in and invest with the Dodgers.
I think there would be a ton of people would be okay if he bought the White Sox.
Probably.
Though him and Reinsdorf, I don't know what the relationship is with them two.
Yeah, it'd be a little awkward.
Yeah.
But, hey, Jordan, at least just as long as it's not a basketball team, right? Then because he can't make decisions. Personnel decisions. When it comes
Come
to
back
that,
and play.
So, yeah, right. No kidding. He'd probably still beat a lot of people in basketball.
Oh, I'm sure.
Gosh, man.
Do you think he does like the Marcus Johnson on his birthday? Just goes and dunks.
What was the one interview clip that he did? The one. It was only one, and they split it up on some of the stuff where he talked about a free throw. Remember that part?
Yeah, he had to make that free throw on that because they bought his house or something.
Yeah,
it was
that. Or like some kid, and he's like, I've never shot a free throw, and how many, and he made it, of course.
Yeah.
I'm like, do I believe that though? Do I believe it's been how long that he said that he didn't shoot a free throw or just pick up a basketball and shoot it?
Maybe he's one of those guys because he's so competitive that he doesn't want to start down that road. Not that he would ever come back, but it's like
right. Maybe that's a good point too.
He was wired. He was wired much differently than a lot of athletes.
There's part of me I'd compare him almost to Tiger in that aspect. With that, I almost want to just be in their mind for a day during their prime in a game.
Well, the story of him punching Steve Kerr in practice.
Yeah.
And that's how intense this guy was.
Or manufacturing stuff just to get motivated. I want to be in that mind. What exactly are you thinking right?
But if you think about it, Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's always got something that, puts a chip on his shoulder to give him that. And I think that's for the great ones, they're finding a reason. Mm-hmm. And that's it.
Yep. Whatever that chip or whatever that motivation thing
Unless you're
is.
Scotty Scheffler, where you just go out there, have a pedestrian first round, and then all of a sudden, again, nearly make the run to win. It's Tiger-esque.
Yeah.
The stuff he's doing at this point, his bad rounds are...
His mental game has just got to be off the charts.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
You see him show some emotion, but it's he never gets too high or too low. Or he just brushes it off, goes to the next shot.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun to watch. I've really enjoyed it, and the fact that he almost did it again, it's crazy. Again, and his bad rounds are even par.
Yeah,
that's what I was he's not blowing up and having a 5-6 over. It's even par. Mm-hmm. That's what he is. He doesn't make big numbers.
I think you are the one who made the comparison. He's Tim Duncan. He's Mr. Fundamental.
Yep.
That's what he reminds me, especially the emotion part of it.
Yeah, he's just there. But he hangs around, doesn't blow up, and then next thing you know, he gets 6 birdies out of 8 holes, and he's right there. Hits an eagle on the 18th to tie for the clubhouse lead.
Man.
Yeah, good weekend for sports. It really was.
It was. All right, dude. Appreciate it, man.
No problem.
That's going to do it for us today. But hey, we'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. Same place, same time. We'll chat with you then.